Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the season finale of the Race by Wire Porsche Cup Season 1, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing, and proudly powered by none other than Energise Virtual Solutions. That's right, folks, after 9 absolutely fast, furious, and frantic rounds of racing action, we have made our way all the way to South Australia for Adelaide, and here is where we'll be crowning our champions officially. Now, of course, we already know our silver champion. We saw them provisionally crowned as of the previous round, but up for grabs today is the ultimate accolade, of course, to prove you're the best of the best, because we have got the Gold Drivers' Championship still wide open. There are 3 major contenders, and we look forward to seeing which of our 3 contenders are able to wrap things up today. But what a circuit we have in store. Indeed, once home to the Formula 1 Grand Prix of Australia, it has gradually arisen through the ranks, and whilst it may not be playing host to the International Series anymore, well, I'll tell you one thing, it's not a circuit to be underestimated. Only recently introduced the iRacing Simulator platform as a 2026 Season 1's update, this is a circuit which plays annual host to none other than GT World Challenge Australia and also V8 Supercars, and as machinery roars around the streets of Adelaide, where it's got to watch out for the walls that surround it and the high curves. But get it right here, and you'll be finding yourself millimetres close to those walls. Indeed, every millimetre matters when it comes to victory on the streets of Adelaide. But who exactly is going to be able to risk it all for victory, and who may play it too safe and feel sorry come the end of it all? Well, that's what we're here to find out as we welcome you all to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune in tonight on the one and only place you can catch all the racing action on a weekly basis on the Race by Wire series, and as of course on our official YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com and search your Race by Wire, RBW, and you can be tuning in and catching all the racing action. And if you are tuning tonight and you're not already subscribed, why not subscribe so that way you can stay up to date every time we do have a broadcast scheduled in. But as we get ready to go racing, of course, well, don't be shy, feel free to say hi as we say hello to you guys and girls. And in terms of our schedule for tonight, times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time, UTC. As per usual, we'll be seeing in approximately 14 minutes time our drivers make the way into qualifying 10 minutes, the final qualifying laps of the season. And who exactly will be putting it on pole in our gold and silver classes? That's what we'll find out first, after which then we have the bread and butter, which makes up the point, of course, our 2 races. The first of our race is the 12-minute sprint, due to get underway at 10 past 8 this evening, after which we'll take a brief breather before returning for our final race of the season, the final laps turned in anger, because it will be the 30-minute feature race due to get underway at just after 25 past 8. Indeed, it is going to be a thriller all the way to the end, and in the commentary booth you have myself, my name is Paul Walsh, and I will bring you all your racing action as it unfolds today, as we put the crowns on our drivers come the end of today. But without further ado, let's make our way into this round, and give you a recap of the season, plus also what we can expect here today in Australia. As we can see, we have made our way around the world since the 17th of December, and quite intriguingly, we opened up on a brand new circuit, following the official calendar, of course, for the iRacing official Porsche Cup by Conspit, and we started off all the way back on the 17th of December at the Miami International Autodrome. That was just before Christmas, back in 2025. It's crazy to think we can say that we opened last year, and then coming into 2026, well, after the Christmas break, we carried on the theme. On the 7th of January, we roared away to Interlagos in Brazil, and what we got to see, there was some frantic fighting, no doubt about it, with some silver drivers absolutely putting the gold to their paces in the feature race. And then we made our way to France, so the circuit says 24 Hours de Mans, or the Le Mans circuit there on the 14th of January, where it's all about trying to stay in the draft and be smart with it. Then round number 4, we headed back to the US of A for the Michelin Raceway Road Line to its full course playing host, and then the ultimate rollercoaster ride of road racing definitely kept us guessing as to who would win on the 21st of January, before we wrapped up the first month of 2026 at the Autodrome Nacional Monza. And there, of course, the absolutely venerable question of who's the quickest at the Italian Temple of Speed. We'll see plenty of battling under braking there, and that concluded the first half of the season. But we didn't stop after that. We split the season into, of course, with a continuation in Italy, and we wrapped up our time in Italy at the Autodrome International Enzo Dino Ferrari in round number 6 on the 4th of February. Then we made our way to the US of A once again for our final 2 visits to American circuits. Round number 7 was at the Daytona International Speedway, and there we did get to see, of course, Matt Sprell absolutely hunt and hound down what would be an overall win as a silver driver, but it wasn't quite able to come about there. What we did get to see, of course, was at Sebring a week later. He made some magic happen there, and well, on the 18th of February, you got to see plenty of brilliant batting in the gold class as well. And then on the 25th of February, we, last time out, were in Germany at the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg's Grand Prix circuit, and well, what were the big headlines from there? Well, the main headlines we got to see, in terms of firstly your sprint race, was the fact that Oscar Berntsson was able to lead every lap, was kept honest by Kim Andre Bjørklund throughout the entirety of the race, and at the very end the gap between the pairs was only 1.4 seconds at the finish. And meanwhile in the silver class we got to see Glenn Gondoliers, whilst he may have lost out in terms of his overall positions to some of the gold drivers, he was never threatened for the class win, having dominated qualifying to take pole position. He had a comfortable gap of 3 seconds at the finish to Aaron Herbert. Then winding our way forward into what was the feature race, it was an absolutely incredible race there, and whilst we only had had 12 drivers on the grid. Well, the saying we do have, of course, is it's not about the quantity of drivers that makes up a grid, it's about the quality of the drivers. And we saw drivers put on an absolute quality race there, and it was a huge fight for the overwin, played out the entire race between our top 10 starters, but in the end, only one could take the overall win, and it was Oscar Berntsson who took it in the end. But in his post-round interview, he openly admitted he was exhausted. It was the most tiring race he's raced in a long time, and he absolutely loved it, no doubt about it. And he was caught up in such an intense battle with many of the gold drivers, including Richard Simnor, and also silver drivers, including Aaron Herbert, that in the end, everybody was left guessing as to who would take that win. Meanwhile, in the silver class, it was Glenn Gondoliers who brought home the back-to-back victories, and with those back-to-back victories, he has made him our silver champion, as you'll see shortly. But it does mean, of course, in the gold class, everything is wide open, as we'll show you in the standings. And as we make our way into this finale, it is the 4th of March, and we're here for around 10 to 10 in Australia at the Adelaide Street Circuit. And we wrap up on a brand new circuit on iRacing, just like we started the season. But in terms of where the standings stand then, let's start off with your gold class. And what we can see here is that after 9 rounds of racing, keeping in mind, of course, that the scores you see, the points column there, that does account for a drop score. So that is 9 rounds with 1 drop. That is 8 rounds counted there. But it is 273 points for Matt Strand for Ice Cold Racing by Maxim Racing, who has just arrived at the circuit, from what I've been told, ladies and gentlemen. He was a bit of a worry as to whether we'll be able to make the racing today, but we do have all 3 of our gold championship contenders racing, which is absolutely brilliant. Now, Strand, on paper, you would think is the favourite here on 273 points, but do keep in mind there's only 1 drop score in the season. So when you do add his missing score there currently, well, that actually puts him in a grand total of 288 points. Well, in fact, it puts him a little bit higher than that. I think the mathematics is incorrect. But the point being right now that for Matt Strand, at the very least, well, he knows he's got that advantage as he drops to 25, but he can still improve to the tune of an extra 15 points there if he takes the maximum score. Oscar Berntsson sits in second for Ice Cold Racing, the 2 teammates together. And remember, every time we've interviewed them, they've always held the same line. Indeed, I don't think it's stapled into the minds. They're honest about it. So long as one of them takes the gold championship, they will be very happy. But which one of them, of course, is down to them and what they can do. But Oscar Berntsson, as he comes into this round, he has 2-0 scores. He did have to miss Daytona. He couldn't make the round, but he missed the round before by complete accident. And therefore, what it does mean is that he can take a maximum of 40 points away from today. So therefore, he can improve to 304 points by comparison. So doing the maths there right now, well, what exactly can Kim Andre Bjørklund do for Sim Racing Norway on 263 points? He is only a single point behind at the moment on Berntsson, but of course he is 10 points behind the leader. Well, given his lowest score at the moment is 23 points there, dating all the way back to round number 1 in Miami. What it means is the maximum that he can potentially improve his points tally by is 17. So the theory would be, in effect, that right now it is Matt Strand who is the favourite. Then Oscar Berntsson could potentially steal things away from Strand, and Kim Andre Bjørklund, meanwhile, is the outsider, but it's all going to come down to marginal margins between these 3, and anybody could win it out of the 3 of them. Richard Simnor, meanwhile, well, he's out the hump on 235 points. He absolutely loved his time last time out at the Hockenheim ring, enjoying the batting, really in the thick of the fighting, and bringing home one of his best pairs of races, no doubt about it, and he's ahead of Josh Boot there for Atomic Esports, who's a further 39 behind. And then we can see Andy Jones sitting in 6th for DCW Racing Blue at further 10 adrift, but ahead of Simon Bamber. And then Ryan Davies, Jack Atkinson and Paddy Falconer complete your gold top 10. Falconer on 92 points there. He's 9 ahead of Mikey Pollard of Film BIL.NO for Real Sport Racing. Then we do have Nick Clemens a further 4 points adrift, but comfy 7 ahead of Empire Motorsports Joe Newman. Then it's Daniel Shilcott, Garen Petty and Casper Tunstead who complete your top 16, all with points to their names. And with no points to their names so far, Andy Archer and Helder Gonzalez. But that is how the gold standings stand. And as we say, it's between the top 3 that are Matt Strand, Oscar Berntsson and Kim Andre Bjørklund, and nobody can wrap it up in the sprint race. It will come down to the feature either way, based on the points they all have available to accrue. But what about the silver class standings meanwhile? Well, there we can see on 269 points with an advantage now of 47 points, Glenn Gondoliers cannot be caught. It is mathematically impossible, and therefore it does mean that for him, well, I think he's taking a well-deserved rest, and we won't be seeing him on the grid today, but congratulations to him if he's tuning in. Indeed, the Pegasus Sim Racing driver absolutely delivering a brilliant maiden crown in this series, and, well, we could not fault him. Ollie Pimley, then, he is holding on to second at the moment, 2 points ahead of Emma Ryu, and with the ER by the organisation driver not on the grid today, what it does mean is that Ollie Pimley, by default, will be hoping that that is his second place to take. Now, in theory, it could be stolen away from him by Adam Klanvik, should the Ice Cold Racing by Maxim Racing driver be able to get onto the grid and take a perfect score, and the Ghost Squadron Esports driver was to score no points. But Pimley is here currently, meanwhile Klanvik is not, so therefore it is looking as though Pimley will be the runner-up. So therefore, if Klanvik doesn't make his way onto the grid, well, Aaron Herbert might be able to jump ahead of him. Albeit Herbert makes his way onto the grid there on 193 points. He is the best part of 18 ahead of Alan McCain. The iRace Esports driver right now in a battle with Chris Cole. 5 points between the two of them. There's a further 5 back to Matt Sproul there for HRT Nexus Racing, who's back once more. And we look forward to seeing what Matt can do. Remember, he's missed the last couple of rounds, but he's back once again. And he promised us he'd be here for the season finale. And he's not just chasing silver wins, he's chasing overall wins. Chris Halswhite and David Big Light round off your top 10. And behind the DCW Racing Red driver, it's Rob Van Hoot in 11th place there. And well, we look forward to seeing what he can do on 111 points. 5 behind Bigger Dyke, but the best part of 10 ahead of Alexandre Longjou. Behind the Blue Mercure Racing Drive, it's then Ben Sieber a further 2 points, with Fabrizio Penzo and Mark Collicott completing that top 15. And Penzo, to be fair, enjoying some of his finest racing last time out, and he absolutely delivered, particularly in the feature race, and we absolutely love to see him get right in the thick of the fighting. Burton Tor sits in 16th ahead of Matty Wild, and then Nido Braun, Nicholas Gronstrom and Mirzan Yusupov complete your top 20, with Dave Van Dam and Tino Gertner completing the silver class standings. So that's how the standings stand, ladies and gentlemen, and with the recap, let's bring you onto your circuit for today. It is, of course, the Adelaide Grand Prix Circuit, or the Adelaide Street Circuit as it's known in full. Located in the city from which it takes its name in the state of South Australia, in Australia. A circuit spanning only 2.01 miles. Indeed, this is a short circuit, but what we say to many a circuit around the world, it's not about the length or indeed the individual corners. A circuit can be a lot more than the sum of its parts, and it rings true here. And a huge thank you to iRacing.com, not just the brilliant simulator, but the absolutely fantastic track maps contained within it. Now, the Adelaide Street Circuit, of course, comprising of a whole mixture of very sharp 90-degree right and left-hand corners, and also some hairpins out there and long straights as well. And let's not forget, of course, the SS sequence to open up the for turns 1, 2, and 3, where it's all about bouncing between the curves. And for our drivers here, you're going to have to go flat out and full out every step of the lap. There's no rest of the wicked around here. It is an absolute adrenaline rush, as our drivers will find as they roar the way down the start-finish straight and into the sharp left-hander at turn number 1. Now it's going to be heavy on the brakes, but I want to try and carry as much speed as possible. They go through 1, 2, and in towards 3, and they'll charge their way in towards turn number 4. Then they start off the sequence of 4 90-degree corners, starting at 4, then 5, then 6, and then 7. But get it right, coming out of turn number 7, they'll make their way onto the backstretch and roar the way all the way through the curve of 8 and in towards the heavy braking zone of turn number 9. There we can expect to see 2, 3 wide if a driver's dare to do so, and coming out of the hairpin, it's then into a long left-hand sequence that turns 10, 11, and 12, where my turn number 11 really is the danger corner there with how sharp it is at the apex, and as they make their way through the kinks of 12 and 13, it's then into the second and final hairpin at turn number 14 to complete the lap and do it all over again. What it does mean, of course, is that turn number 14 is another prime overtaking opportunity, and we could expect some 2 wides and even 3 wides there all the way towards the very end of the race. As we do give you a quick reminder of the rules, because we aren't allowed to go racing without some rules. Well, setup-wise, this is an open setup series where drivers bring a setup of their choosing to each and every race session. Qualifying-wise, it's a closed format, so that does mean that all drivers take to an isolated instance of the circuit in which they will have 4 flying laps available. They have no worries about stepping on the toes of another one of their rivals, or no opportunity to use the slipstream of a rival either. They've got to get the job done based on their own individual pace. But once they've completed those 4 flying laps, they won't be able to do any more, and indeed, that'll be the 10 minutes of qualifying complete, and then we make our way to the grid for our races. Now, the grid for the sprint is obviously set by qualifying, but how exactly do we set the grid for the feature race? Well, we set it based on the results of the sprint, but we invert the top 10 finishing positions. So therefore, whoever takes victory in the sprint race, they start in 10th place for the purposes of the feature, and we run our way down that top 10 until we get to the 10th place finisher, and they start on pole for the purposes of the feature race, and those official length and downwards, you guessed it right, they will be starting where they finished the sprint race in the feature. The race shall commence by a standing start. This is an edition of Porsche Cup Racing at this level, and in terms of what we can see a driver picking up a drive-through penalty, well, it'll be if they get to 70 or more instant points, but hopefully we won't see any black flags coming out from them today, because we definitely want to see this race all the way to the finish without any penalties getting in the way. Well, let's make our way back to circuit side. That's enough bringing you up to speed on the rules and regulations, and just as we head back to circuit side, a quick shout out, of course, to our title sponsor for this season. A huge thank you to them, Energise Virtual Solutions. Now, if you didn't know, Energise Virtual Solutions is a software consultancy whose aim is to meet the demands of bespoke product services and development. Whether it is a completely new project or consultancy assistance on existing projects, Energise Virtual Solutions will be working alongside you every step of the way. And if you'd like to know more about how their services can help you, do head to their website at energisevirtual.com today. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, let's focus on race day here. And as all drivers get themselves set, well, who's looking the quickest in pre-practice right now? And what we can see is that Kim Andre Bjørklund second fastest, but only 2 tenths off Oscar Berntsson. And Oscar Berntsson right now in the pit lane, feeling as though he's done enough in practice and he doesn't want to exhaust himself anymore. But with how tight it is, 2 attempts is nothing in reality here, particularly when we do go racing. Matt Spurrell is currently the third fastest and the silver quickest. Right now he's the quickest in the silver class by a whole half a second almost. In fact, almost 6 tenths of a second over Mark Collicott, who's in the pit lane, as we do look to Richard Simnor, who acts as the fork in the road to split the 2 silver drivers in fourth. And the DCW Racing driver here, very excited to be here once again, and we gave us plenty of entertainment last time out. All for the right reasons at the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg, and we look forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do in the finale. Fabrizio Penzo's not looking too bad either, currently 6th fastest of them all, as meanwhile Alan McCain needs a bit more time to pick up the pace perhaps, and get himself a bit more acquainted with this Adelaide circuit. Not an easy circuit to get right, even with plenty of practice, but now they've got to make sure that practice is made perfect, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to make our way into qualifying. 10 minutes, who's going to put it on pole? Let's find out. And so here we go as qualifying gets underway. 10 minutes begins to tick away, and all the drivers immediately making them out the pit lane as quickly as they can. Oscar Berntsson here being one of the very first, of course, to try and roar his way up to speed. But as he does, well, what can we expect here in the qualifying session? Well, firstly, how important will qualifying be? We've had some circuits where qualifying has been irrelevant. Daytona being an absolutely brilliant example. We've had some circuits where qualifying has been absolutely paramount to success. One of our best examples of that being none other than, of course, what was all the way back at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, where track position really was an important factor of who you were going to battle and where you were expected to finish, and even more so perhaps the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Here, qualifying is going to be valuable in the fact that you do have overtaking opportunities, but you've either got to be very bold to make overtakes happen, particularly through the opening sequence of bends, where you've got to be quite forceful on the inside. Alternatively, you've got to stay right behind your rival all the way to the back straight, and looking into that first hairpin there down at turn number 9, alternatively down at the turn 14 hairpin to complete the lap. So therefore, if you can qualify whether you can get yourself within the front 2 rows, you are going with a good opportunity there to really go batting for the win on the podium places. But the further down you qualify, the bigger the risk, of course, you run of seeing the field splinter into packs, and therefore you'll find yourself towards the back fighting rather than towards the very front. But after that, of course, what can we expect in terms of drivers here in this session? Well, understandably, they'll need to get things gradually up to speed. This is not a circuit where there's much runoff area. You do have some runoff area towards the end of the lap, where there's a little bit of grass, but if you touch that grass, Ben Siever does not, as we look at him making his way onto his first flying lap. Well, touching that grass, so you very quickly find yourself sliding towards a barrier. Nobody wants that. So therefore, I suspect we will see some bank laps coming, and then with regards to laps 3 and 4, that's where drivers will go full attack. Then you see how close they get to the inside tyre barrier there of turn number 1, and well, you want to practically be brushing that tyre barrier at maximum attack lap. You don't want to touch it, you just want to brush past it, and therefore that will be where the maximum speed is kept. But of course, if you try doing that straight away, as Ben Siever gets it wrong there, coming through turn number 5, then suddenly it'll be a toe to the pit, and you lose all your momentum, and you have to go again. But of course, because he was on a lap, he now loses one of his flying laps, and when he comes out the pit lane, his next out lap counts as his second flying lap. So suddenly he has half the number of laps available to him and no valid time. And that is the problem. You've got to get it right, because if you don't, you may find yourself qualifying without a time. Indeed, that's going to leave you in quite the pinch. But as Oscar Berntsson and comes on through at turn number 10 in towards 11. Well, now the Swedish driver here looking very quick, no doubt about it, but rolling his way onwards. Indeed, he's been jumping back and forth between cars over the course of this season. A one-man competing in the Swedish National TCR Championship, which he has qualified for the finals. Very happy to announce for him. And right now he's back in his Porsche Cup car here, and will have to reacquaint himself once again with rear-engine rear-wheel drive versus front-engine front-wheel drive. Complete opposite end of the spectrum. It's all about rotating the rear. But to be fair, whether he's rotating the front or rotating the rear, either way right now he's leaving everybody else to his rear, 8 tenths quicker than Richard Simnor initially. But then again, there are a lot of laps still to come in as Kim Andre Bjørklund, well, he hits a lap there which is 7.5 tenths on the pole sitter. Matt Spurrell, he jumps up to second there in the HRT and Nexus Racing Machines. He cuts too much curb there through the SS sequence, and therefore he picks up a yellow flag that will invalidate the lap, and he must serve the slowdown, and it means now he is only going to have one more lap available to him, because he's currently on his third. But as he makes his way onwards, well, meanwhile, what else can we expect from our drivers here? Well, Ollie Pimley's not doing too bad, but Fabrizio Penzo has been a slightly quicker lap there to the tune of 9 thousandths, as Pimley more sideways than straight coming out to turns 5 into 6. But very easy to make a bit of a mistake there. Oversteer a big factor. And we're coming through turn number 7 right now, using all the width of the road where he can. But of course, Matt Strand yet to get a valid lap on the board. And, well, it's very important he does so here because, of course, for Strand, he's in a bit of a position whereby he needs to get that bad lap together. If he doesn't, then he is going to be in a bit of a pickle. But as he charges his way on down the back straight, to give you an update, by the way, with regards to his current maximum score as he comes into this round, if you account for all his 9 rounds up to this point, he is on a grand score of 298. So what it does mean is he can only improve by 15 points, but he is definitely the favourite to take the championship. And indeed, what he would need to do is just make sure he finishes behind his 2 rivals, and he would be guaranteed to take the championship then and there. Well, as he tries to roll the way on through, we look to Oscar Berntsson as he gets ready to bring his final lap to a close. And we look back to none other than Matt Strand here as he goes on to another lap. And let's get on board with him as he takes us around for a final flying lap of the Adelaide Street Circuit. Makes his way in towards turn number 1 here, looking to his right for his brake marker, dabs the brakes, gets the weight pitch forward, and then hops and skips his way between the curves, goes through left-hander at turn number 3, now flat up in towards turn number 4. Onto the brakes there, about 150 metres from corner apex, pointing the car at the corner, down to second gear, get it hooked up, now back on the throttle immediately, in towards turn number 5, onto the brakes, down to second gear, roll the car out, you see the bumps in the road as he transitions over the road surfaces, through turn number 6, and exiting out here, can run the car a little bit wider out the corner because the circuit opens up, and now in towards turn number 7, avoid the apex curve, but absolutely clatter the exit curb, and now full throttle every step of the way here. You've got to be fearless at this point because he's heading upwards already of 130, 140 miles an hour. Now into the turn 8 kink. To be completely committed as he comes through here. There's only one line through that corner, so 2 wide through there. Requires drivers to back off, and then braking at about 200 metres before the apex at turn number 9. Comes all the way down to first gear. Apex speed there of only 28 miles an hour. It's one of the lowest speed corners of our season. Now through the triple left there, 10, then 11. So tight to the apex there, 52 miles an hour on the apex. We're going in towards 13 very shortly. And as he comes through that right-hander now, needs to position the car nicely in towards the hairpin. Wants to keep it nice and wide. Onto the brakes there, nails the apex. What a lovely run from Strand, but he carries a bit too much speed out the corner. He understeers. That's going to cost him some time as he heads towards the timeline. And for Matt Strand, what's it going to be as he comes on through? And well, the answer is going to be he improves. That's going to put him into 5th place there, 1 minute 18.380. And then immediately he picks up a yellow flag there for track limits, going through the S's onto what will be his penultimate flying lap. So therefore for Matt Strand right now, he's pushing hard, but he needs to find more time, because you can definitely see that Oscar Berntsson and Kim Andre Bjørklund, they've got a lot more time on him by comparison. And this is not looking easy for what is Matt Strand. But again, as a reminder, all he needs to do in order to be able to seal this championship crown is make sure he finishes immediately behind his rivals. If he is able to do that, he will be safe, because if he was to take 3rd place in both races, where it'd be 13 points in race number 1, it'd be 22 points in race number 2. You do the mathematics there, that would equate to 35 points, and that would keep him safely on through to a championship crown, because he would improve by 10, and he would put the championship effectively out of mathematical reach for his rivals. But Oscar Berntsson sets his final lap. It's a 17.419. Kim Andre Bjørklund comes across the line. He tries to improve. What's it going to be? He improves by 10, but it's a 17.693. It's not enough here. So right now, Kim Andre Bjørklund is not going to be starting on the front row either, because Matt Spurrell suddenly says, look what I can do. He's 2 thousandths quicker there than the second fastest gold driver and the silver pole sitter provisionally right now for HRT Nexus Racing. Something tells me that he might have this all very comfortably wrapped up here as he cools the car and down. Oh, well, right now he definitely should take a bit of a cool moment if he can, because he's absolutely been hot off the press. But as we do see Alan McCain, they're going a bit sideways, coming out to turn number 9, already getting caught up on the exit curb. When we did have an improvement there for Fabrizio Penzo, now moves to 7th place, 3rd in silver class in the 55. He'll tow to the pits, and with 2 minutes left on the clock here. Well, right now, not too much more time for our drivers to be able to improve. Can anybody else find a bit more time out there right now? And Alan McCain comes out to the final corner. And as he does so, heads towards the line. This is going to be his very last lap. He's currently 10th fastest, or 6th in silver. And then he does find a bit more time at 19.130, but it does not promote him up the order. But he is comfortably ahead of Ben Siever to the tune of almost 6/10 of a second. But as Matt Strand makes his way into the pit lane, that's qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. And all the drivers have used up all 4 of their flying laps, every single one of them. But in the end, it is Oscar Berntsson who has taken pole position here for the start of the season finale races. And the gold pole sitter will be joined on the front row by the silver pole sitter of Max Burrell. Behind them will be Kim Andre Bjørklund and Richard Simnor, with Matt Strand and Mark Collicott on row number 3. And indeed, what a qualifying session it's been. But Burrell put in the rest of the gold field between himself and Collicott, so he'll be very happy with that. But of course, his goal will be to try and beat the golds, including Matt Strand there, me or Mark Collicott by comparison. Well, given the fact he was only 200s quicker than Fabrizio Penzo, and it's a further 3/10 to Ollie Pimley and Rob Van Hoot, I get the feeling right now the silver class, outside of your leader for this qualifying session, I think the silver class here is going to have their arms out, elbows out every step of the way. And, well, Kim Andre Bjørklund and Matt Strand might get stuck in the fight with each other. But as all the drivers cool on down, well, we've only got a minute to go before we do make our way to the grid for the first of our 2 races. Now, for those of you sat there right now thinking, is this the site or is this the circuit where we had the infamous incident, of course, in the 1995 Formula 1 Grand Prix season finale between Damon Hill and Michael Schumacher? It's not quite the same circuit. Yes, it did happen at Adelaide, but the Adelaide Street Circuit has evolved over the last 4 decades. So therefore, this circuit, not quite what you saw back then, but yes, this is the circuit where the infamous incident did happen. Indeed, Adelaide is no stranger to some major incidents in motorsport in history, including the infamous "they're all in the wall" incident. If anybody is a big V8 supercar fan, you'll know exactly what I'm referring to, where the rain came down when all the drivers were on slicks and everyone made their way into the barriers around here because nobody had any grip left when suddenly the rain came down like a deluge. No rain expected here today. And in terms of our weather, in fact, we do have overcast skies, 24 degrees centigrade track and ambient temperature, perfect conditions to go racing. And, well, as proceedings cool on down here, we're not too far away from going to the grid, because without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, as the clock does strike 0, it is time to make our way to the grid for the first of our 2 season finale races here at the Adelaide Street Circuit. And so as our drivers make the way onto the grid, this is the lineup for our penultimate race of the season. Oscar Berntsson begins his round number 10 of the Race by Wire Porsche Cup Season 1, sponsored by Energise Virtual Solutions, with a perfect pole position there for Ice Cold Racing by Maxim Racing. He is golden overall pole and joined on the front row by Matt Sprell, the silver pole sitter for HRT Nexus Racing. Kim Andre Bjørklund starts in 3rd for Sim Racing Norway, ahead of DCW Racing Blues Richard Simnor. Then we do have on row number 3, Matt Strand there for Ice Cold Racing by Maxim Racing. Remember, all he needs to do is finish 3rd in both races, and he will be your gold champion. And the Norwegian driver ahead of Mark Collicott there, who is 2nd of the silvers. The DCW Racing Red driver is in close proximity there to the 4th row of Fabrizio Penzo and Ollie Pimley for Ghost Quadra Esports. And then it was a further, what's only 33 thousandths there to Rob Van Hoot, who will be starting 9th. And Alan McCain will complete the top 10 for Iris Esports, with your grid rounded off there by your 11th place starter of Ben Siever for DCW Racing Yellow. Well, it's a small grid, it's a short one, but to be fair, short and sweet is always good. And as everyone gets themselves onto that grid for what will be the penultimate time this season, there are no formation laps, of course. There are no pace laps. It is grid up and go. The jackets will be off the tyres. Indeed, those tyres will be losing a little bit of temperature already, and the opening lap is all going to be about managing what will be bringing those tyres up to temperature and not pushing too hard on either them or the brakes. But as all of our cars sit there right now, we're just waiting for Matt Sprell to take his spot on what will be the left-hand side of your picture on that front row, the right-hand side of the grid from the driver's perspective. And there he is. And, well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it's time for the lights. And as the revs rise for the first time today, the screaming 6-cylinder machinery gets ready to go. It's lights out, and away we go here in Australia for the first of 2 races. And Matt Sprell there gets the better start versus Berntsson, but Bernsson's on the inside into turn 1. Who's going to want it more? And Oscar Berntsson in the end says, I want it, but Sprell says, no, I'm having it. And Matt Sprell takes the lead of the race, as meanwhile Fabrizio Penzo there gets slightly sideways coming out of turns 1 and 2, but they're all saved through the opening couple of quarters, as meanwhile Berntsson under pressure immediately for Kim Andre Bjørklund. He's got to beat the Ice Cold Racing drive. There's no excuses. He's got to win. But coming all the way through the 90-degree quarters right now. All these drivers in very close proximity to each other, as meanwhile goes round there. Van Hoot goes sideways. Penzo's into the wall. And in the end, Ben Siever collects as well. Alan McCain as well. All 4 drivers in contact with the barriers and each other. But it looks like they're able to carry on here. But that damage, well, Fabrizio Penzo definitely has damage, which is going to require him to come into the pits potentially for repair work. But everyone else is able to struggle onwards once it's gone wrong for them. Meanwhile, with your top 7 all together right now, they come down towards the hairpin for the first time. And onto the brakes mix here. Matt Sproul, your leader right now. Well, for Oscar Berntsson, of course, he doesn't need to beat Sproul in order to take home the gold victory, but he might want to beat Toned to take overall wins as well. He always loves to beat the silvers where he can. He loves to beat everybody. His goal is to be overall winner as they all come out through turn number 11 and into 12 and 13. Berntsson first has got to get himself dialed in to make sure he doesn't get caught up by Bjørklund, and then after that he can do the rest of the work. Meanwhile, Matt Strand, understandably, right now needs to make sure he passes Richard Simnor if he wants to give himself the most comfortable end to the season he can. We're going on to lap number 2 then. It is Sproul ahead of Berntsson, followed by Bjørklund. Then we do have a 1.2 second gap back to Richard Simnor ahead of Matt Strand, with Mark Collicott and Ollie Pimley there all in the camera. And then we do have the wounded machines of firstly Ben Sieber coming on through, but he has got Brad Van Hoot for close company. And then we do have Alan McCain, and sadly Fabrizio Penzo is in the pit lane undergoing a fast repair. So therefore his car's going to get repaired. Meanwhile, back to the front of the field we go. Brush with the wall there coming towards turn number 6 for Matt Sproul. Got to be careful of that. Of course, you can graze the wall, but if you do, you normally end up understeering deeper into the corner because obviously friction means the car is then pulled into the wall rather than away from it. But here they come down the back stretch, and this time here comes Oscar Berntsson looking up the inside where he's got the draft, and on the inside into turn 8, Sproul says, I don't want any of that, and backs off immediately. But now Berntsson going defensive here, trying to say to Sproul, you're not having it, but Sproul says, I'm going to have you round the outside instead. But it's not going to work out. There's Kim Andre Bjørklund's up the inside right now, and oh, there's contact to the back of Sproul's car. Simnor comes in blazing hot there, I think expecting everyone to be full pace, but Sproul hitting the exit curve there, lost a lot of momentum in that side-by-side battle. Well, they survive it there as Matt Strand almost brushes the tyre barrier that pokes out at turn number 11. He's got to be careful of that. Indeed, if he goes head-on into that, that will be this race completely over for him, and suddenly the Gold Championship will be wide open. Although right now Richard Simnor's definitely making sure it's as open as humanly possible as Mark Collicott follows on, and Collicott right now the second place silver driver. I think he's just wanting to stay with this group rather than push too hard. But coming down towards turn number 1 onto a third time asking, it's going to be Collicott who's gradually falling away little by little. But look at this, Strand right now getting increasingly close here as they get ready to go into the brakes. Looking around the outside here, Simnor goes defensive, and Indian Strand has to back off. And now the elbows out between these drivers right now. Richard Simnor, he's here to have fun, and understandably, Simnor's not working for anyone other than himself and the DCW Racing team. And well, Matt Strand's got to do things the hard way here. You might be sat there thinking, well, if he can't win the championship, why is Simnor fighting? Well, he wants to end the season on a high. Who can blame for that? Strand understeers wide, then it's oversteer on the curb and into the barrier. And for Matt Strand, it goes sideways, but thankfully it doesn't end up completely in the wall there. But that was a big near miss. If he was a cat right now, he's at least used 2 of his 9 lives, and we won't keep using those up very quickly. He needs them. Goodness me, that was almost disaster there for the 185 driver, and onto the brakes he goes in towards the hairpin. And right now we're trying to keep it together as he rolls his way on through the quarter sequences right now. Well, for Matt Strand, definitely proving to be a very challenging moment in the race, but there's more time to come for him. We're getting ready to go back in towards the final portion of this lap. We need to take a look back at some big moments from earlier on in the race. Started off, of course, with the race start. So, looking back to your starting order there, they all were on the grid when they did go green flag racing. But for Matt Sproul, what a start this was as he get the launch. Because what you'll see very quickly is he just inches ahead of Oscar Berntsson in the first phase of the launch. And in the second phase, Berntsson is able to catch up there, gets on the inside. And he did try to force Sproul to have back off. But Sproul knew there, if I'm on the outside, well, Berntson's got to break at least 20 metres earlier than me. Otherwise, he's never making the corner. And we're both going to the steward's room in pieces. So therefore, it really worked out well for him. But what happened further back, meanwhile? This is the big question as we do look to Fabrizio Penzo as he rolled his way through the corners. And looking to our alternative camera here, into turn number 5 they came. McCain went very deep there, and Rob Van Hoot had gone wide and lost it at the corner, and Ben Sieber tried to take evasive action and did get clipped onto Penzo's car. But in fact, Ben Sieber actually got away with it for the most part. This is what it looked like on board from his perspective. So this was coming through the corners, the 90-degree course. Turn number 4 first. You'll see McCain goes deep here. Bit of a surprise, but under brake. And see we're tucked up the inside. Then Van Hoot went round. And, well, unfortunately, Penzo went to the barrier with the contact Van Hoot, and the Sieber just got caught up with him, but was able to survive it. But then we did have this afterwards for Fabrizio Penzo on lap number 2, where at the very same sequence of corners, it went wrong again. He'd just come out the pit lane with some repair work to the car, got the power down, and the rear of the car said no, and he hit the barrier there. And, well, painful one, and a tow to the pits for him. But we did have this change on lap number 2 for the lead of the race. And this was Oscar Berntsson drag racing his way on past Matt Sproul, and at this point, of course, he knew he had to go for it, given the speed he picked up in towards turn number 8, and made sure he stated his point. But then, what exactly happened behind is the question, as we did see Richard Simnor come barreling into the corner. Well, Sproul looked around the outside. I think he might have outbroken himself here, and Bjørklund made sure that he knew that. Indeed, he went very deep, and Simnor, I think, was blindsided to the fact that they were fighting side by side and expected him to carry a lot more speed into the corner, but they did not. And then, of course, we did have that big month for Matt Strand only months later. We won't be bringing you a replay of that, ladies and gentlemen, as we do come back to your live racing. But with everything that's played out, we can now see that our top 3 are breaking away to the tune of none other than 3 seconds to the rest of the field. Richard Simnor right now being Strand and Collicott along for the ride with him. So it does seem as though, at least for the very moment, that we do have our top 6 split into 2 equal packs of 3. And then we do have quite a bit of spread in the field further behind us. Ollie Pimley right now enjoying a very lonely 3rd place in the silver class. But understandably, he wants to pick up the points. He'd like to be on the podium once again. And well, with this result, he'll definitely guarantee what will be his run-up condition in the Silver Championship. Well, Glenn Gondoliers taking the title, but not here today. Haven't got things done around early, so he's decided to have a week off. But meanwhile, Ollie Pimley here for the fun in Adelaide, and well, we can't blame him for that. But meanwhile, new fastest lap of the race, a 17.531 for Oscar Berntsson, half a second quicker than Kim Andre Bjørklund, who's picked up a slowdown for track limits returns 1, 2 and 3. And well, right now Bjørklund will burn that when he can, and Indian has to do so there. Sproul simply says, right, I'm taking that off of you. Bjørklund deciding to go deep under braking it in towards turn number 5. Quite a tactical way to do it. The idea being essentially by going deep, he is going to give up a position, but also he burns it very quickly there by intentionally sacrificing up all the time. But his hope is he can get back into the toe of the car in front and therefore be able to carry on. But as we do see there, the gap being 9/10 between Bjørklund and Sproul, that's exactly the point. The fact that Bjørklund has got the distant toe there, and he will now gain on what will be Sproul into the next heavy braking zone. But a brush to the wall there for Richard Simnor coming out of turn number 8. A brief brush, nothing more than that. And Matt Strand right now close, but not close enough here to look for a move as we ride aboard the dashboard of the 185. Now, the Norwegian driver here has definitely had a bit of a haphazard race so far. Has not been the cleanest of a race for him, not in terms of having instances of other drivers, but in terms of moments with the walls and sideways moments as well. That goes to show how hard he's pushing right now. And of course, these Porsche Cup cars, well, they are relatively unstable by nature. They are Porsche 992.2 machines, the latest road-going GT3 machine from Porsche, albeit the Cup car meaning there is the road car converted into a racer. All the weight's been taken out, all the unnecessary modules. We do have a massive rear wing pot on the back of the car, but other than that, not too much aerodynamic refinements compared to the road car, and indeed nowhere near the aerodynamic refinements that you would see on the equivalent GT3 racing machine, say for GT World Challenge Europe, for example, or the IMSA Sports Car Championship. But Strand stays well in the toe here in his Porsche Super Cup machine, well, making sure not to lean too heavily into the ABS there, just little by little, and that's one of the things as well. What a lot of drivers would have done on their setups here today, they would have kept the ABS at a moderate level, but they would have dialed down the TCS as much as possible. As Simnor there has a big brush of the wall coming out of turn number 7. The idea is you want as much traction as possible coming out these corners. The more TCS you have, the more likely it's going to interrupt your throttle and hurt you on corner exit. But of course, you then sacrifice the risk of what is having more wheel spin. But Strand looks on the inside. Simnor tries to pinch him into the braking zone. They go too wide in. They're going to touch. They touch twice. And as they come out the corner, Richard Simnor holds on for now. And Richard Simnor really refusing to give in. Meanwhile, we've got side by side here between Ben Sieber and Alan McCain. As Sieber's going to take that place back off of McCain, at least for now. But these two have been battling back and forth. We'll get a replay of how that started shortly. We're going to stay with how it's going to finish right now. So that's going to be McCain looking up the inside. Not going to work there. And instead he's going to have to bide his time in the AO Racing Tribute RXE livery. But coming out to the corner there, let's take a look back at their battle. So this was Alan McCain and Ben Sieber battling away through the 90-degree quarters here, coming through what was turn number 16 towards 7. And as they did so, well, McCain on the outside, Sieber on the inside here. They gave each other racing room. Brilliant racing. Oh, there was a bit of an elbow there, but I think that was exaggerated by McCain going up onto the exit curb and the car being propelled upwards, but it didn't stop them from fighting side by side here. So McCain right now definitely in the car that's been shaken, but it's not been stirred out of the racing just yet. In fact, so close there at turn number 8. And McCain definitely happy to run that toe. I suspect might be running a little bit more rear wing to compensate. And we're coming in towards the hairpin. That's how that battle ended. We did have this as well for Matt Strand and Richard Simnor, with Strand trying to make his way past Simnor. And it was a look on the inside here, and Simnor covered him off as much as possible, pushed him to the wall, albeit not unfairly, we should point out. And then Strand braking, and a bit of a touch there into the braking zone, and Simnor was able to go out wide in order to survive. So therefore, Richard Simnor right now playing very hard to get in terms of the place he holds. Meanwhile, back to your live racing. 1.5 minutes left on the clock very shortly. Our leader, Oscar Berntsson, Berntsson getting ready to go onto what will be his penultimate lap. We are going to get 10 laps in for this first race of the day. And Matt Sparrow right now, your silver leader, trying to keep Kim Andre Bjørklund behind him. But keep in mind, of course, regardless whether Bjørklund gets ahead of him or not, he will still take second place in the gold class. And therefore, he will take the points for second place. And that will be 14 to the 15 that Oscar Berntsson will take. And Matt Sparrow right now in fourth will take 12, not 13. But meanwhile, oh, goodness me, that goes wrong for Sparrow there. And that's going to drop him behind as Richard Simnor, meanwhile, under pressure from Strand. And Strand right now looking around the outside, but run the way through the right and to the left there. Simnor taking a bit too much apex curve. It bounces the car out. And we're on the way through now. Turn number 5 in towards 6. Strand all over the back and like a bad rash. And, well, of course, if you've got a bad rash, the one thing you want to do is itch and scratch it. But right now, Strand is definitely trying to scratch his way on past, but it's not going to work there. He has the battle wall of power oversteer coming out of turn 7. The car refusing to cooperate. Well, Strand right now losing a lot of momentum there, falling back to 4 tenths behind. He will start to gain a rate to not go through turn number 8. But is he going to be close enough to look for a boost? Simnor doesn't think so. He's not going to go defensive into the braking zone. Strand's not going to try and send it from downtown. And therefore, as they come through that hairpin right now, Strand is just simply going to stay suburban and look for another opportunity on the final lap. Of course, that lap is just around the corner as there is Sparrow falling back into this group right now. Sparrow, ever since that brief brush and losing the place, he's lost out considerably. And as our leader goes on to a final lap, we're going to stay with this group as here comes Simnor looking up the inside of Sparrow in towards the hairpin. He goes a win. Sparrow going deep there. Simnor takes the place, and Strand now wants to get on through as well. But as the white flag waves there, the clock strikes 0, and here comes Strand looking down the outside of Sparrow. And I think Sparrow's picked up some damage there because he's going quite slowly right now. I don't think that car's in a happy space. And let's take a quick look back at what exactly happened to him on the previous lap. So this was Sparrow making his way through turns 1, 2, and in towards 3. As he did so, hopped over the curbs, was fine there. Then coming through turn number 3. Ooh. Brakes going on there. I wonder why. That's a bit unexpected. There was no slowdown for him as far as we're aware, unless he picked up a slowdown, and indeed he was serving it just in time as we then saw him slowing down, so he pretty much served it straight away. But indeed a bit of an odd one there as we come back to your live racing. But as Oscar Berntsson right now leads comfortably coming down to the turn 9 hairpin, there is Kim Andre Bjørklund, happily in second right now. But meanwhile, coming into the picture very shortly, there is Richard Simnor and Matt Strand. And behind, you see Sparrow and Collicott to go in the battle for the silver lead. Well, right now, Strand can't find a way in. Meanwhile, Collicott trying to go around the outside. Sparrow defensive into the hairpin. He's going to extend it, doing exactly what we've seen other drivers do. And Sparrow holding on here. But meanwhile, coming into the final corner, well, for Oscar Berntsson, if he wants to take the crown, he's doing it the right way. Because race number 1 of the day, he started at pole, he's led every lap, and he's going to bring home the victory in the sprint race in Adelaide by what is none other than 4.5 seconds over Kim Andre Bjørklund. And then it will be Richard Simnor who comes to line just ahead of Matt Strand to take the final spot on the gold podium. Mark Collicott brings it home the win in the silver class with a last-minute pass versus Matt Sparrow at the hairpin. And then it will be Ollie Pimley who completes your silver podium with Matt Sparrow definitely in the car that's got some damage on it and not looking happy at all. Ollie Pimley will take third place in silver, and then it will be a further 10.5 seconds back to the man who at the start of the race found himself pointing sideways into a wall. But number 19 trying to bring it on home there, and for Rob Van Hoot, he survived. He's happy with that. You can see that in the body language of the car. He takes fourth in silver, 8th overall ahead of Alan McCain. And then Ben Sieb will complete your top 10, and with it he'll be your pole sitter for race number 2, with Fabrizio Penzo sadly retiring to the pit lane and his race in bits. But ladies and gentlemen, what a race that has been. And as the whole field calms on down, well, we now get ready for our second race of the day. Albeit, of course, we do have a little bit of time, so let's recap those race results, subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries. And as we can see, after an absolutely exciting first 12 minutes of racing in round number 10 of Season 1 of the Race by Wire Porsche Cup, brought to you on iRacing, sponsored by Energise Virtual Solutions. Here at Adelaide, Oscar Berntsson converted pole position into victory for Ice Cold Racing by Maxim Racing, albeit Matt Sparrow in the end was able to take the overall lead off him early on, but Oscar Berntsson was never under threat of his gold peers and was able to lead every gold class lap to the finish. He took the lead back off of Sparrow, and after that bolted away, and Kim Andre Bjørklund soon followed suit, albeit the Sim Racing Norway driver in the end knew the gap was too big to close down and had to settle for second. Richard Simnor took third there for DCW Racing at Blue, fended off Matt Strand relentlessly over the race distance. No matter how hard Strand pushed, Simnor was able to push him back just that little bit more, and the Ice Cold Racing by Maxim Racing driver finishing fourth there. But of course, it does mean he starts a gold pole for race number 2. Mark Collicott, your silver winner there, passing Matt Sparrow on the final lap. We suspect Sparrow picked up damage going on to the final lap, with the DCW Racing red driver taking, I do believe, what is a very limited number of podiums in the silver class, and I think think that might actually be his first silver win of the season as well. Congratulations to Mark for that. And Matt Sproul, meanwhile, having to settle for second there for HRT Nexus Racing. Ollie Pimney taking on home 7th place there, but 3rd in the silver class, cemented his status as runner-up in the silver championship for Ghost Squadron Esports. And then Rob Van Hoek taking 8th place there, the Belgian driver, ahead of Alan McCain, with the iRace Esports driver then a further 3 seconds ahead of Ben Sieber, who he spent plenty of time battling with in this race, and the DCW Racing Yellow driver will be your pole sitter for race 2. Sadly, it was not a happy race 1 for Fabrizio Penzo, who unfortunately saw his race come undone in the first 3 laps, and then retiring to the pit lane. Well, we look forward to seeing him try to climb his way through the field in race number 2. Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, race number 2 is only now a couple of minutes away. We're almost ready to go back to the grid here in Adelaide for our final race of the season, because coming up, it's the 30-minute feature race here, and my goodness, if race number 1 was anything to talk about, race number 2 is going to be a standout approach. But here we go then, ladies and gentlemen, to the grid for race number 2, and with it, our final race of the season. And so, onto the grid they go for one final time for this season of racing in the Race by Wire Porsche Cup. And as we can see, he starts on pole position for the top 10 inversion. It is Ben Sieber for DCW Racing Yellow. Alan McCain will join him on the front row there for iRace Esports. It's an all-silver front row, and it's an all-silver rows 2 and 3, because behind is Rob Van Hoek, the privateer, ahead of Ollie Pimley. Then it's Matt Sproul and Mark Collicott on row number 3, with Matt Strand and Richard Simnor, the first gold row on row number 4, ahead of Kim Andre Bjørklund and Oscar Berntsson. And completing that starting order, it's going to be Fabrizio Penzo in 11th place. Well, that's how they'll all start this one, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go then for one last time as we wait for the last couple of cars. And we have an update there from Alex Saunders to say there was a fuel issue for Matt Sproul in race number 1, so not enough fuel perhaps to go to the end on 11 laps. Well, hopefully there's not the same fuel issue this time around, but here we go with the lights, ladies and gentlemen, for the final time. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5. And it's lights down, away we go here for the final time in Adelaide as they roar the way away. Alan McCain gets a good start. Ben Sieber can't quite stay with him the run towards turn of 1, but will he look up the inside here? He's going to think about it, but not quite so. They all scattered away in towards turns 1, 2 and 3. Hopping is giving away over the curves, and well, it's going to be a slow down there for Mark Collicott. Took too much curve at turn 2, and he's now got to give the time back here as they all head in towards the 90-degree corners. We see there Matt Strand trying to take a poke up the inside of Sproul. Sproul being a bit cheeky there with his defreds. 4 wide there for a brief mountain coat through turn number 4, but now it's 2 by 2. Richard Simnor side by side with Kim Andre Bjørklund, and that's the barrier there. That's Oscar Berntsson into the barrier. Well, thankfully he was able to back off enough not to go head first into it. My goodness me, it was almost close to it. And meanwhile, Kim Andre Bjørklund side by side with Richard Simnor here. Oh, there's contact. There's elbows out between them. And right now, it's absolute fireworks firing off. And as they make the way down, well, right now, Kim Andre Bjørklund here trying to fight his way through. He knows that Matt Strand is the target man. He needs to win this race. But as they come down towards the hairpin right now, Simnor going defensive. Bjørklund on the inside. Meanwhile, Sproul here covering off Van Hoek. Meanwhile, behind them, we can see that Bjørklund still on the inside. Simnor goes deep. Bjørklund gets him to outbreak himself. That's a rarity. Indeed, Richard Simnor never gets outbroken, but here today he will be. And as they make the way in towards turns 11 and 12 now, you can see that Oscar Berntsson getting himself back together. So Fabrizio Penzo offers a limited defence. I think on that outside line there, it was never going to quite work out for him. But goodness me, what an open lap we've had. And there's still more to come as Ben Sieber completely overextends the hairpin there and falls backwards. But as they make the way onto lap number 2, Alan McCain now trying to bolt away. Your silver and overall leader ahead of Ollie Pimley by 1.1 seconds. Then it's Ben Sieber followed by Matt Sproul. Oh, and there goes McCain. McCain's into the barrier, losing it out of turn number 2. The car in the wall. And the first try to be caught out here today by the opening Estes sequence. But as he now almost likely have to tow to the pits unless he can get that car out of the barrier. And I suspect it will be a tow. Well, he's going to have to come into the pits either way. That car's not in a good state. If we get confirmation he's just had to tow, well, suddenly there's more change of foot here as Ben Sieber goes to turn into turn 6. And Matt Sproul magically appears on the inside of him. Meanwhile, Matt Strand is now following here, and the gold leader wants to get clear of these silver drivers as quickly as he can, because he knows that right now Rob Van Hoek is the last bastion between himself and Kim Andre Bjørklund as they all head down towards turn number 8. But Sieber here side by side with Strand at this point. I think Strand's got the inside line. Sieber's going to back off there. He's going to try and hang it round. No, in fact, Sieber's going to go for it here. We thought he was going to back off. Meanwhile, brush with the wall there for a car as Rob Van Hoek backs off, gives up time. In fact, he's picked up a slowdown that's converted into a drive-through penalty for Rob Van Hoek. You couldn't make this up. This is drama for the Belgian driver, the privateer right now, seeing it all go backwards. But as he tries to make his way forwards, what limited time he can, Fabrizio Penzo there out the inside in towards turn number 11, but Penzo's a bit of ways an inside line. Meanwhile, Van Hoek completely snaps loose there, and right now frustration building perhaps, but he's got to serve that drive-through within 3 laps of being awarded. Meanwhile, Ben Sieber hold off what is Kim Andre Bjørklund for now. Richard Simnor, Oscar Berntsson behind. Well, you can see your top 3 stars to bolt away right now as we go on to lap number 3. But this is a long race. Keep in mind, this is 30 minutes, not 12. So therefore, consistency is going to be key. And Seba right now definitely proven to be the cork in the proverbial bottle here as he gets ready to go into turn number 4. By the inside, there goes Bjørklund. And here comes Simnor as well. And meanwhile, here comes Berntsson. They all dive up the inside there. And I think Ben Seba wanted to turn in at some point. And all the gold said, "Excuse me, sir, you're not turning into that corner anytime soon." And then the great awareness of Ben Seba. Goodness me, Oscar Berntsson there. That is got to be one of the cheekiest follow-through attacks that we've seen in a while. But as he now rides the rear of Richard Simnor, well, if these three are going to fight each other intensely, how far can Matt Strand pull a gap? Can he break away here? As meanwhile, at the front of the field, Ollie Pimley and Matt Sproul getting close to each other. I suspect we're going to see some fireworks between these two because Ollie Pimley, well, he's a very fair racer, but if I know him well, he's going to be looking at Sproul and thinking, you're not going to have all the fun here today. But meanwhile, we come back here to Berntsson versus Simnor, and Oscar Berntsson up the inside, and he's going to take that place immediately for Richard Simnor there, and Richard Simnor being a bit passive, but I suspect the DCW Racing driver right now thinking about the bigger picture here, which is he'd rather have the tyres towards the end of the race and instead force Berntsson and Bjørklund to fight each other first as he almost gets the run around the outside at turn 11 and then has to back off. But as he backs off there, coming towards the end of lap number 3, indeed these laps are being accrued very quickly right now. And rolling off the apex there, you can see that Oscar Berntsson a bit more comfortable taking that wider line. But onto the next lap they go. Fastest lap of the race now in the hands of Matt Strand at 18.350. But we will be going quicker as this race sees fuel come out the cars. Here comes Sproul looking for the momentum up in towards turn number 4, but he can't find it. Strand now very close to the 2 silver stars at the front as he's getting a much better run of the corners here. We ride on board with Strand as he tucks his way through turn number 5 in towards 6 and 7 he comes. But indeed the very literal bumps in the road here really shaking these cars around, and that's another enemy you'd have to beat. You haven't just got your rivals on the circuit, but you've also got to defeat the roads on which you race. But as we do see a better exit for Sproul there. Now Strand falling back, but meanwhile here comes Matt Sproul looking for the lead. Silver and overall into the inside of turn number 8. Pimley does not fight it there, but he tucks into the tyre immediately, hoping he can come back as that's a brush with the wall there for Strand. He'll get away with it this time. But under braking here, Pimley thinks about it, but he's too far back and he has to wait his turn. So Matt Sproul takes the lead of the silver class. Now can he make amends to race number 1 here with the right fuel in the car, and can the number 5 driver go the distance? Or will he find himself being reeled back in here? We'll see. Indeed, he's wanting to make it another overall silver win, and if he can do so, he'll be the only driver in the history of this series so far, but it's maiden season, understandably, to take an overall silver win, but it'll be the fact that he's done it twice this season now, and indeed, he'll definitely be setting a very high benchmark for anyone to follow him in season 2. More of that, of course, at the end of today's broadcast. But meanwhile, as they go on towards the next 5 minutes of race, indeed, that's only 5.5 minutes gone here, and already we've seen plenty of excitement. Will things cooling down? Perhaps a little, but I suspect right now we're in the phase of the race where things are going to get even more intriguing as there Oscar Berntsson hopping his way over turn number 2 quite literally, and in the car shaking around as it came back down to terra firma. Indeed, going up onto 2 wheels for a brief moment there. These cars, they're made to be on all 4 wheels, not 2. And understandably, Oscar Berntsson right now, much like all of his rivals, trying to carry as much speed as they can. But the more they risk it, the closer they get towards, the closer they get to losing control. But as we have had a class position change, well, in fact, not a class position, an overall position change, Matt Strand has found his way past Pimley, who picked up a slowdown penalty and has dropped in behind. Well, now Kim Andre Bjørklund's looking at some thinking that he might be able to get involved, and Bjørklund has been 7/10 of a second faster on the previous lap versus Strand, so I think it's going to be a question of when, not if, the sim racing Norway driver is able to catch up to his fellow countrymen, albeit there's still the silver between them. And will Pimley fight this now, or will he simply bow out the way? Well, some would say he might want to bow out the way here, so he can stay with the gold drivers and be pulled back up to Sproul, and others would say he might be wanting to go a little bit fighting today. Bins was the hairpin. Well, there's Bjørklund up the inside, and Pimley goes the former, which he doesn't put up too much of a fight, but then again, he doesn't need to. Richard Simnor and Oscar Berntsson still giving chase here, but the pace for these two right now, well, as we do see, our drivers come across the line. Strand at 18.7, Bjørklund at 18.2. Meanwhile, we can see Simnor 18.5, Berntsson 18.5, but half a temp slower. So therefore, right now, these two I think are backed off a little bit, and they are focusing more on what is preserving the tyres, and also the fact they have got a bit of damage on their cars, and thinking about the later race. But without further ado, let's take a look back at some of the big moments from the opening 7 minutes of racing. We begin with the race start. Now, this was the field was about to get away, and as it did so, well, we have a change for Berntsson versus Simnor. In fact, we are going to watch this replay, and then we'll get a replay of that as well, as we're now committed to the adventure. But has everyone gotten away there? Well, good start from Alan McCain, really getting the best launch compared to Ben Seba, and then was able to make his way in towards turn number 1 quite happily, and the rest of the field all made its way through. But everyone's safe through those opening corners together, and then by the end of the time, they went into the braking zone here for turn number 4, already what was Sproul and also Strand trying to go on the attack. However, it was on lap number 2 where things started to get intriguing, because for Alan McCain, your leader, made his way into the sequence here, and what exactly went wrong? Well, he came charging in, took too much curve at turn number 1, it carried more speed into 2 as a result, and into the barrier there, and that car was going for the toe. But then, after that, we had this from Mark Collicott later on the lap. This was Collicott coming through, turn number 5 in towards 6, as he came in towards the right-hander. Oscar Berntsson behind him. Well, the rear of the car started to let go and span away there, and a brief brush with the wall. We had this with Maurizio Penzo a lap later on lap number 3. Well, exactly went wrong for the Italian driver, and this was in towards turn number 1, carried all the speed he could, and in the end hit the apex curve number 2 a little bit too high and into the barrier, and that was a toe to bits for him. And we've just had this big battle between Oscar Berntsson and Richard Simnor, which we just cut away from as it was about to happen. We do apologise for that, but of course we can always catch up with the magic of a replay. And what exactly happened here? Well, it was a move up the inside, then turn number 7 for Berntsson. He went for it, and well, a little bit of power oversteer on exit. It wasn't over then. When did it end? And I think it was in the run towards turn number 8 there. Berntsson tucked back into the toe, then looked back to the inside, tucked back in again. And I think keeping us all guessing, and Simnor guessing as well as to when the move was going to come or whether it was done. And in the end, he had one last look in towards turn number 9, but Simnor saw it coming and called his bluff. And that's how their battle stopped for that moment. But back to your live race to become then, and as we do, Simnor now on the back of Pimley, with Berntsson still following behind. Leader, Matt Sproul's into the pit lane, surely not again. Well, in fact, hold up, Sproul's got damage on the car, he's having to come in, he's got a meatball flag there. What on earth has happened to Matt Sproul? He's got to have had a brush with the wall at some point. Well, we'll try and get an update for that when we can, ladies and gentlemen, but Sproul's had things go wrong. But meanwhile, as Matt Strand carries on here, he's now the overall leader of this race and still gold leader, but Kim Andre Bjørklund does 17.903, and right now the number 88 driver here on a mission. He is marching forward, and we'll give him the fact that he finished run-up in the previous race. Well, right now he needs the win if he wants to give himself the best possible chance of taking the crown. But right now, if our mental mathematics is correct, Matt Strand, if everyone was to finish where they currently sit, it would be Strand who is your class winner. But Matt Sproul, I believe, might be out of this race, ladies and gentlemen. We're hearing that the car's been taken into the garage there, and I don't think they're going to be able to repair it in time, which is very unfortunate. We have had our first retirement from this race. It is Sproul. And we'll give the fact he was really bringing the pace, not just in the silver class, but also to the golds as well. That's definitely a bit of an upset there. But meanwhile, we've still got more excitement to come. It's down in towards turn number 9. That is Simnor at the inside of Pimley. And, well, there, Pimley does not offer a fight to Berntsson either, so he lets the gold through. And Ollie Pimley right now into lead of this race. It's been a long time since we said the words Ollie Pimley and silver winner, but he's trying to do exactly that now. Now he just needs to hold on for a little bit longer. And, well, 19 minutes here doesn't sound like long, but to be fair, Adelaide, that will feel like a lifetime when you need to make sure you don't hit those barriers and you're consistent all the way through. And consistency really being the key now to these drivers and what they can deliver for what will be the final 2/3 of this race. But on to lap number 9, Simnor and Berntsson there still nose to tail. And Richard Simnor hopping his way between the curves. We look back from the rear of his car. Well, the DCW Racing Blue driver here definitely has proven to be a driver who's put a thorn in everybody's side, albeit very fairly. You could say he's been a bit of an antagonist here today, but of course he's always here to enjoy the battling. If he wasn't here to battle, then he would want to be on the grid. And coming in towards the right-hander of turn number 6 there, well, Berntsson has tried for these 90 right corners. He tried up the inside in towards turn number 7 only what was a couple of laps ago. Didn't quite work then, so what can he do now by comparison? And the answer, we're not quite sure yet. I wonder whether the gap to Kim Andre Bjørklund being 5 seconds, whether they're both thinking we now need to get our heads down collectively and actually put our fighting aside here to make progress. Now for Oscar Berntsson, given he took victory in race number 1, a 3rd place in this race, what exactly would it do points-wise? We believe it would mean he would be your runner-up in the Gold Championship. However, it's so marginally close between him and Kim Andre Bjørklund. Remember, only was a point separated him from his rival, and understandably, right on the way through it and in towards the hairpin right now. Well, Kim Andre Bjørklund will definitely want every point he can, as will Berntsson, as there's going to be a move there coming out to the hairpin for Oscar Berntsson, with Richard Simnor having a poor run out of the bend. So now Berntsson goes defensive here in towards the S's. But meanwhile, we've had Matt Strand pick up a yellow flag for track limit, and that's going to see the lead change hands. It's going to be Kim Andre Bjørklund who now takes the lead of this race. But remember, Matt Strand, if he finishes second here, we believe he will be your gold champion, just about ahead of Kim Andre Bjørklund and Oscar Berntsson. That's not what he wants. So right now he burns that penalty. He knows he can't afford to let it be converted into a drive-through penalty. That would be a lot more pain coming his way. So therefore he does the valiant thing. But of course now for Bjørklund, he'll want to try and run away as quickly as he can. Berntsson and Simnor then, they nose to tail still, and having passed him on the exit of the hairpin, well now Richard Simnor's got to think about a way back here. They are equal each other in terms of pace to a respective point. Getting ready now to go in towards the next quarter here. Well, you can see Simnor close, but not close enough to think about a move. And I think the patience is just building here as he heads on to the anchors. Going through that right-hander, and well, Simnor right now, definitely in a position whereby he'll be thinking to himself one thing and one thing only, which is when exactly can I get back at him? And the answer is not really at the moment. It does seem as though Berntsson is able to hold a bit more of a gap. That might be to his credit there. Of course, given the fact he was your pole sitter, well, for Oscar Berntsson, you would imagine at least on paper he would be the quicker driver, albeit one lap pace is very different from what is a pace over successive laps and when you do have the pressure coming up behind you. And that's why Richard Simnor, that's one of his key strengths, is Simnor, is his ability to be very quick when he's got somebody to chase in the race. He's a good qualifier, no doubt about it, but he's a very quick race driver as well. And that's why he's been highly decorated in a good number of series over the best part of the last 3 years that he has raced in for DCW Racing. Ollie Pimney picks up another slowdown there for the run of turns 1, 2 and 3, so suddenly he finds himself now having to bleed a bit of time, but when he does have an 8.6 second gap to Ben Sieber, I don't think he'll be too upset about that. Now, if you were hoping we're going to see a revival of the battle between Sieber and McCain, well, we sort of are, but we're sort of not, because Alan McCain is a lap down after his huge moment with the barrier earlier on in the race from the lead coming in towards turn 3 on lap number 2, so therefore it does mean that McCain is trying to unlap himself right now, but with power oversteer like that coming out to turn number 7, all he's going to be doing right now is putting himself further back on that lap rather than able to move forward. So not quite what he's wanted, but McCain definitely trying to keep himself pushing forward as best as he can. But this is going to be a bit of a challenge for him as he gets ready to go into that braking zone. But right now for Alan McCain, definitely he's just got to take it in his stride. Rob Van Hoot is 8 seconds behind, and right now not as quick as McCain. And Fabrizio Penzo, meanwhile, well, he's quicker than the pair of them, albeit he's a further 20 seconds back here in 10th place, or what is 6th in the silver class. So right now for him, this is definitely not the way he's wanting things to go at all. And he's got a little bit more he needs to try and find in terms of time out there if he's going to want to close up. But in terms of, we're just doing a bit of points crunching in the background here to keep you up to speed with what exactly would happen if things were to finish as they currently stand in the gold class. We do look back to your leader here, Kim Andre Bjørklund. Matt Strand picks up another slowdown, and he's made a bit of a habit of this right now, something he doesn't want to get into the mood of doing, because otherwise he'll be relegating himself back to Oscar Berntsson quicker than you can say, oh my goodness. And as he makes his way down the back straight here, well, more slowdowns for Alan McCain and Rob Van Hoot as well. They're all picking up slowdowns, and well, right now everyone wants to go quick, but indeed to go quick you might need to actually slow the pace down in order to be able to do so. But at the moment, if things were to finish as they currently stand, Matt Strand would be scoring 35 points tonight. That means he would improve upon his previous, what is weakest score there, of a 25 by 10 points. So that would put him on to, we believe, at 308 points. Meanwhile, Oscar Berntsson, with what looks to be 37 coming his way at the moment at least, that would move him all the way up to a grand total of 301. And Kim Andre Bjørklund, meanwhile, would be improving from his previous last of a 23, or he would be taking a first, what would be none other than 16 points forward, and suddenly it would mean for him he would be on 302 points. So it would be currently Matt Strand, your champion, and Kim Andre Bjørklund would just beat Oscar Berntsson to run up spot by a single point. However, as we can see here right now, the driver's coming through. Strand, well, another slowdown penalty he's having to burn here. Berntsson is getting closer and closer, although in theory, he can afford to give up that second place spot to Berntsson if he wants to give Berntsson a chance to make it a 1-2. Strand still has the slowdown at the moment. He's finally burnt it. Getting it out of the way here, no change in position at the moment. But you can definitely see the gap between Strand and Berntsson coming on down, and Richard Simnor is always the ever-present threat. When is he not? And that's what makes him such an exciting driver to see when exactly is he going to be looking for that opportunity to go on the attack. But we'll have to see what he can do here. As Mark Collicott, meanwhile, well, he's having to serve what is a little bit of burning of time. And, well, understandably here, when you do the crime, you've got to pay the time. Well, for him, he's got Alan McCain a long way back, but he wants to try and catch up to Ben Sieber if he can, because Ben Sieber, being a DCW Racing teammate, well, in his mind at least, he'll want to try and prove that he's the #1 team driver here today in the silver class. As Alan McCain right now, definitely getting very fruity behind his rival, albeit sadly, a lap down there, so therefore, as much as he can stay close, he's not really allowed to make an attack whatsoever. So he's going to have to play a bit more of a waiting game here, unless, of course, McCain thinks he can unlap himself from Sieber, and then he'll have the pace to be able to run away. That's always a valid thought, but he will have to prove it very quickly. Normally, within a lap, he has to get it done. Otherwise, it then gets frowned upon by the stewards quite quickly if he's still within blue flag distance, or at least a distance whereby he could be attributed to holding up a lead driver. But yellow flags there right now for Collicott and Alan McCain, as Mark Collicott has to burn some time, as will McCain. And both drivers right now, we can see what McCain's trying to do to offset it. He wants to be right in the slipstream there of what is none other than Sieber, as, hold up a second, Ben Sieber has picked up a meatball for contact with a barrier somewhere. Well, if he's had contact, it is the tiniest of brushes. Alternatively, he has hit a curb very high because of some way he's been able to damage the car, but right now that car's looking fine. Well, that's a bit of a surprise there. I wonder if the wheels have been knocked out of alignment to a degree, but he's not carrying anywhere near as much speed now. Coming down through turn back in towards 9. I think Mark Collicott here is going to take the run-up spot in the silver class off him. Yes, he is. Collicott goes up the inside and then goes a bit deep. Sieber almost turns into him, and then suddenly sees that Collicott has arrived at his destination. Will be a bit of a deeper destination than he originally planned. So Mark Collicott up into second now in silver, but DCW Racing, where it's gain for one driver in the team, it's a loss for another. Coming back to your leader here is Kim Andre Bjørklund, and right now making no mistakes whatsoever, keeping everything absolutely pinpoint precise in the number 88, 3.3 seconds ahead of Matt Strand, who is matching him for time now. Has Bjørklund been pushing too hard earlier on in the race? Perhaps now tyre life is starting to bite back. Oscar Berntsson, meanwhile, there he is in number 35, and well, he's still lapping right on the precipice of breaking into the 17.9s. His previous lap was an 18.08, and Richard Simnor being brought along for the ride as well. You can see him in the rear of the picture. So suddenly, your top four overall in the gold class, we should say, is closed up, as the silver class has definitely spread outwards, although Ollie Pimley picking up a slowdown penalty off camera. That might cause it to come back to us to a degree. Well, meanwhile, the top four gold are all inching closer and closer. The final 10 minutes in that final lap of racing could be very exciting. It all comes down then to any mistakes from anyone. Oh my goodness, Oscar, you're getting so close to that wall at the moment, and well, you give everyone a heart attack, including yourself by that. But coming up towards the hairpin right now, well, Berntsson definitely pushing on here, and I suspect this next lap time that he's going to put on the board is going to be a very impressive one. Heads towards the line, Bjørklund an 18.192, Strand an 18.732, meanwhile Berntsson an 18.072, Richard Simnor a personal best, an 18.166. So there's the proof in the pudding. Oscar Berntsson right now, quickest driver out there. He's hustling, and he knows with only a third of this race to go, well, he might not be able to take the gold crown. It does look as though that's going the way of Strand, but right now he can definitely make it a 1-2 for Ice Cold Racing by Maxim Racing. And given he's missed 2 rounds rather than just 1 that he planned, well, that's not a mean feat there, given the fact he's had to overcome an entire 0 score, as Richard Simnor meanwhile just watches on. But another slowdown for Ollie Pimley, as we've had a bit of drama for Ben Sieber since leaving the pit lane to repair the car. And here's a replay of what exactly has happened to Ben Sieber. So this was coming up in towards turns 4 and 5. Made his way through the first 95, A-OK. Went on to the brakes for the next one with Fabrizio Penzo just in front. Carried all the speed into the corner, took way too much apex curve there, and just about stopped the car. A brief tap to the barrier, but the front bumper will hold on to it, but then realising the steering lock of this car is extremely tight. So therefore, it's not going to work out, as in the end he was able to clear the barrier, but he did have to put the pedal down a bit and pray that he'd given it enough of a squeeze on the loud pedal. But for Ben, definitely a bit of a frustrating one, given things have gone backwards from what was looking quite a good run to a second place spot. But from the silver driver, we come back to your silver leader. And right now, Ollie Pimley doing everything right at this time, albeit still got to hold on for another 9 minutes, what will equate into approximately another 7 laps. Strand with another slowdown, coming through turns 1, 2 and 3. And Simnor doing the same there, and indeed they're picking up so many slowdowns at the moment, and they've got to be now starting to get a bit worried here about instant points. Remember, they get 17 instant points, and on the 17th one, they will be awarded a drive-through penalty, and the drive-through penalty right now could completely turn Moisture top 4 of the gold class upside down, as in the end, Strand will burn the penalty there through 6 into 7, and Oscar Berntsson will now move into second place there. So Strand gives up the position, and what that means is the points will now slightly change between the two, where Strand will be taking home what will be 22 points in this race, Berntsson 23. And well, on that basis, well, it would mean that suddenly between these two drivers, it would be 302 points to Oscar Berntsson at the end of the season. Provisionally, Kim Andre Bjørklund, meanwhile, he would be taken home what would be none other than a grand total of, I do believe, unless I'm very much mistaken there, where it'd be in the region of an improvement of another 16 points. So he would then suddenly be taking home 350 think it is 303 points. It'll be practically dead even between them, as Matt Strand, meanwhile, well, he will be doing enough to take that crown. But coming down that start-finish straight. And you can see here, Strand right now, well, it's Berntsson being the leader, and Strand just trying to copy him in his wheel tracks. These drivers absolutely seeing what they can do. As Kim Andre Bjørklund in control. Richard Simnor, another slowdown penalty. So that penalty striking him once again. It's not looking good there for Simnor at all. And, well, at this point in time, you'd imagine that he's going to be kicking himself every time he does make a mistake. Albeit we hope he doesn't make too many more mistakes, because otherwise he might be in for what will be a much grimmer end to his race. Albeit not saying that's going to happen, to be fair, but you never know. Bathurst could strike at any potential moment. But indeed, give me an update there. We can confirm that if things were to finish as they currently stand, Strand would be on 307 points. Meanwhile, Berntsson and Andre Bjørklund would be on 302 apiece. But then Oscar Berntsson would take the runner-up spot because he has the larger number of wins on a result countback and also the higher number of 40 scores. So it would come down to individual wins, and Oscar Berntsson does have those in his back pocket to work with. So that's always a fault, but his mission, of course, over the next 6.5 minutes is to try and make things certain, and that means he's got to chase down this man who's leaving the camera shots and making his way on to the next one. Right now, Kim Andre Bjørklund not too far away, 4.5 seconds, but given the fact that it's an 18.153 for Bjørklund, meanwhile for Berntsson it's an 18.185. Well, it's 300ths in the favour of the Sim Racing Norway driver. And it's going to be coming down to hundredths and tenths here, not entire seconds, but every lap's got to be absolutely on the limit. Ollie Pimley still leading silver then. The gap now to Mark Collicott standing at 11 seconds. Collicott on the previous lap was a bit quicker as he comes across the timeline this time around. What is Ollie Pimley able to do? A 19.948. Well, Pimley did have a slowdown the previous lap. Mark Collicott, meanwhile, what's it going to be for him by comparison? It is going to be a 1 minute 19.665. So therefore, Collicott still bringing that gap down, bringing it down by another 3 tenths that time around. However, he'll need Pimley to have a few more slowdowns there, or to have a major error if he wants a chance of winning this race. And indeed, in doing so, potentially making it 2 wins out of 2 here today. We'll have to see what's going to happen there, because of course he picked up his first win of the season in the sprint race, but right now there's still a bit more on the cards here. 5 minutes to go, and indeed it's not over until they reach that final checker flag. That is always the one thing that is certain in all the racing here. You've got to finish the race to pre home the points, and indeed finish the final race of the season if you want to see where you finish in the championship. From there, well, we do have, of course, 10 cars still running. We lost Matt Sproul early on in this race for circumstances we're not 100% sure of. He had to come into the pit. We believe he'd had a contact with one of the barriers, and that had damaged the car enough to force it into the pit lane. And after that, well, the team decided to pack up their HRT Nexus Racing, having no opportunity to really repair the car. And, well, understand we're down to 10 runners, of which we do have Rob van Hout here. He's making his way on through and around still, running in 5th place in silver, 9th overall with Fabrizio Penzo. Well, he's currently your last running car in 10th place. Both drivers, of course, having a bit of a difficult start to their respective races, but they're keeping their heads down, carrying on and enjoying themselves, but both have had to come into the pits for repair work. Alan McCain, meanwhile, he's also been into the pits for repair work after that huge moment from the lead of the race on lap number 2. And we'll slow down there. He's going to fall even further back there to the machine of what will be Ollie Pimley. But understandably, here being a lap down, he's just trying to stay in the wheel tracks of the Ghost Squadron eSports machine and hoping that he might be able to take a couple of attempts there of inspiration from the silver class leader. Ben Sieber, here he is, currently running 3rd in the silver class, 7th overall, and right now for your number 26 driver, looking all okay and cool. However, of course, understandably, with Mark Collicott up the road now after his big moment, he's spin sideways after leaving the pit lane from the damage he picked up. Well, for Sieber, he just wants to try and get the car home, and then Mark Collicott 40 seconds up the road almost. Well, he's still trying to chase down Ollie Pimley. He is the quicker driver, and in fact on the previous lap he took another 2 seconds out of Ollie Pimley, but he's still got 8 seconds to overhaul, so Pimley can afford to lose 2 seconds a lap at the moment and still be safe. Collicott is really playing to the racing gods right now that some magic can happen, as he almost brushes the wall there, but not quite so. But Collicott are really on a charge right now, and indeed I think this is some of the finest racing we've seen from Collicott, and the very best laps turned all the way through the season. Well, every driver has a shining moment of the season, and for Mark Collicott here today at Adelaide, it definitely is that, as we come back to the leader. There's Kim Andre Bjørklund, rear of the picture. We do see Berntsson and Strand. Oscar Berntsson brought in his previous best and brought it down to an 18.00 to nearest 100. So Berntsson still attacking, but it's a 10th he's gained on Bjørklund based on the last couple of laps. And that gap right now is not coming down quickly at all. And with 3 minutes left, unless Kim Andre Bjørklund has the mother of all mistakes, or suddenly he needs to go into the pit lane for fuel or something in between, looking as though it's going to be coming down to result count back who's the runner-up, and we believe, based on the maths that we have and all the numbers, that it will be Matt Strand, who is only now 2 laps away from being your Season 1 gold champion, and it would be a 1-2 with Oscar Berntsson tied on points to Kim Andre Bjørklund on 302 apiece, but he would win based on result count back, where he's had a greater number of wins. But Berntsson there picks up a slowdown, and right now, well, he'll want to burn that, but I think he might be on the radio to his teammate to say, if they know the maths right now, do not overtake me, because understandably, Strand's got everything wrapped up here as we understand it, so therefore, he doesn't need any more positions, whereas Berntsson definitely needs this second place. But then again, perhaps they're running to the rule right now, which is, if you're out there on circuit, you can both fight, as Ben Sieber's gone around there, coming out to turn at number 7, so he's made a mistake of proportions. What exactly's happened to him? We get a quick replay. And well, this is coming through 6 in, so the next right-hander, turn number 7, carried all the speed. And well, in fact, this was the first mistake from Ben Sieber. We're getting a replay of that again, firstly. And then this is what happened to Sieber afterwards. And well, now coming up to speed, on his way through the right-hander initially. And as he made his way in towards the next right-hander, the rear of the car started to come loose and exaggerated on the exit curb. But back to your live screens we come. Less than 1 minute 10 to go, and out to the final quarter to go on to his final lap. The white flag waves, the final lap of the season gets underway. Kim Andre Bjørklund right now in control, and just hoping that the luck of the gods favour him for the racing gods. As we got Oscar Berntsson second place, he burnt that slowdown, and Matt Strand 8 tenths behind. And these two right now for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing. Now, all they've got to do is see the finish line, and one of them at least will be gold champion. But it won't be this man, it'll be this man. It'll be Matt Strand, provisionally subject to any insurers' inquiries. And, well, Richard Simnor, meanwhile, 5 seconds behind. And after all the huff and puff he had earlier on, were a couple of small mistakes, and then gradually losing some pace. And the pace right now seems to have slipped out of his control. And instead, holding on to 4th here. Well, to be fair, he's given it his all today, and he can't be too upset about it. For Ollie Pimney, he goes on to his final lap, and looking good here for the run-up spot in the silver class. And indeed, he'll be wondering if he'd had a little bit better form earlier on in the season, a bit better luck, could he have potentially taken Glen Gondoliers all the way to the end of the silver crown? That's a big what-if question we'll never know the answer to, but we will know is he's definitely going to prove triumphant here in race number 2 at the Adelaide Circuit. Mark Collicott, meanwhile, not going to be able to make it back-to-back silver wins necessarily, but at least take his best results of the season, and Ben Sieber will be completing that podium. But as he makes his way in towards the final quarter for Kim Andre Bjørklund, race number 1 saw him finish the runner-up, but race number 2 is going to see him take victory here in Adelaide. It's an important win, but is it going to be enough? Mathematics on our side says it will not, because Oscar Berntsson comes home in second place in the gold class as your runner-up, but the winner of the gold championship with 3rd place in both races is going to be Matt Strand as he comes on through. And for Matt Strand, the job is done. He is your gold champion as far as we are aware, as Richard Simnor comes home in 4th place, and then we do see him cool down. But as he does, what a pair of races he's put on for us today, and the battles he's delivered have been absolutely spectacular. As we then do see Ollie Pimney make his way out to the final quarter, and for the Ghost Squadron Esports driver, it will be a silver win here to complete his season. A great haul of points once again. He guarantees his runner-up spot in the silver championship behind Glen Gondoliers. Mark Collicott comes home in the end, charging after Pimney, but it wasn't enough time, but he does make it a 1st and a 2nd today, a huge haul to end his season on. And Ben Sieber, meanwhile, cooling on down, and takes the 3rd place spot in the silver class there. Well done to his best result of the season with that one. Head of Alan McCain, and Rob Van Hoot sets a personal best in the final lap to take 5th place in the silver class ahead of Fabrizio Penzo, who comes home last of the runners in 10th place after the retirement of Matt Sprell early on. And well, as a few of our drivers do celebrate here, and we're understanding for Matt Strand right now, he can take a big sigh of relief, because as we say, based on the maths we've done here in the commentary booth, with these results, Matt Strand has taken the championship on 307 points to Oscar Berntsson, who has taken the runner-up spot, 302 points apiece with Kim Andre Bjørklund, but he has the greater number of wins, and it is the wins that have done the difference there. And indeed, we will get it checked, of course, ladies and gents. That's why we emphasise it is provisional, but as they celebrate with some donuts, and well, a lot of smoke going up down there right now. Indeed, they're absolutely enjoying themselves. And Adelaide, of course, used for drifting. As we look to the chopper camera, well, we can see there in the end, I think a bit of smoke coming out the engine. Perhaps he's burnt the tyres too hard, but everyone calming on down there as Rob Van Hoot, meanwhile, takes the escape road and decides to head downtown. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at those results, and with it, well, what a race it has been. So here we can see after our final 30 minutes of racing in the Race by Wire Porsche Cup Season 1, brought to you on iRacing, powered by Energise Virtual Solutions, Kim Andre Bjørklund did everything right in this one to take the victory for Sim Racing Norway by 4.9 seconds over Oscar Berntsson. The ice cold racing by Max Sim Racing driver in the end, second place, ahead of his teammate Matt Strand. And well, for Strand, all he needed today was 2 third place finishes. He got exactly what he ordered, and with that result, well, what a way to wrap things up, and he'll be absolutely pleased as punch with that. But in fact, as we just correct what we just said there, it wasn't, of course, a third place finish in race number 1. It was a 4th place finish in race number 1. Please excuse my manners. Richard Simnor took the 3rd place in race 1, but even so, a 4th and a 3rd. Strand has got the job done there, as we understand it, ahead of Richard Simnor, and with Simnor in the end for DCW Racing Blue, whilst he managed on the podium in race number 1. For him in race number 2, well, the DCW Racing Driving couldn't quite stay in the hunt. Ollie Pimley took the silver win there, denied it in race number 1, but made it happen in race number 2 for Ghost Project Esports. Had a Mark Collicott there who chased him in the late stages, but it wasn't enough time. But he was the runner-up, adding to his win in race 1, and then Ben Sieber completing the silver podium there with his one and only podium of the season for DCW Racing at yellow. Well, what a brilliant result for him. In the end, he'll be absolutely pleased with that in the 26th. But from him to the Irish Esports machine of Alan McCain, it was a lap down for the pair. And then we did see Rob Van Hoot and Fabrizio Penzo completing a top 10, the 2 privateers. And then sadly, we did lose early on the race Matt Sprell after what was the fuel issues in race number 1 where the car was underfueled. The HRT Nexus Racing driver Indian having to come into pits with damage to the car. And unfortunately, that was his race in the pit lane for the remainder of the day. But what a day of racing we had, ladies and gentlemen. Again, 11 drivers here today in Australia, but to be fair, they've ended it on an absolutely brilliant high. And well, as the racing comes to a halt for the season, ladies and gentlemen, this broadcast is not going to a halt just yet, because of course, coming up in approximately 5 minutes' time will be our final post-round interviews with our drivers for this season. Don't go anywhere, you want to miss them. We'll be back as soon as we possibly can. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews. And what better way to kick them off by coming to the man who is our provisional gold champion for Season 1 of the Race by Wire Porsche Cup, because joining me now in the interview room is none other than Matt Strand. Matt, you've done it. Provisionally, you are our gold drivers champion for this season. How does that sound to you?
Good, Paul. Hi. Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you sound happy about it, and what a day you've been through today. I mean, from coming into this round with the risk of not being able to make it to joining the grid with only 10 minutes before qualifying, I mean, it's been a roller coaster for you.
Yeah, I had something came up in the last minute, so I think I signed in or registered with 5 minutes left on the clock. And this week has been a bit of a mayhem, so I had 40 minutes practice yesterday. So not the best prepared, but at least I could join the race. I had a lot of fun.
Oh, indeed. Well, even if you didn't quite get all the practice you wanted to, you very quickly picked up the pace out there. And this Adelaide circuit, I mean, when you've got such a limited amount of time to practice for it, what were the main things you focused on to make sure you could get it right?
I would have liked to have done a bit better quality, but T1 here is it's a nightmare with the slowdown. And I had 2 safe laps, and then I gambled in T1 on both the second 2 qualifying, and both were slowdown and invalidation. So yeah, and then for the race, I tried to take T1 as a normal would, because I needed training, and that I don't think I would be able to keep up with Kim Andre anyway. So I racked up like five slowdowns in the 5 or 6 slowdowns in the main race, but yeah, it is what it is.
Oh, goodness me. Well, those slowdowns definitely catching out many a driver, yourself included, but in the end, you're able to make sure they didn't hold you back too much. And speaking a little bit about race 1, of course, whilst Kim Andre and Oscar were allowed to run away at the front of the field, you found yourself stuck battling with Richard Simnor. That was intense between you two.
Yeah, first of all, I have to apologize to Richard. I had a bit of unintentional dive going into the airplane. I missed the braking marker, unfortunately, and just went really, really deep. ABS saved me. He got a bit of a hit in the side, but I lifted and let it by again. But I tried to overtake him as best as I could, but it's not easy on this track. It's really not easy on this track.
Oh, fair play. I mean, challenge and overtaking, we did see it get very close between you, but it's absolutely brilliant that you've been able to recognise perhaps what could have been done better, and openly went to apologise there. But still, a close fight. 4th at the end of that race in the gold class. And I do have to ask, did you know where you needed to finish to take the championship coming into this round?
I didn't know, actually. I hadn't checked, but Oscar said as long as I didn't wreck, I'd be fine. So I don't know if that's true or not, but he told me that on Discord just as I went into the server. But no, I didn't check. I didn't have time. It's been a bit of a hectic week, so just give it my best as always.
Oh, fair play. Well, you gave it your best, and in the end, you might not have been able to pass Richard in race number 1, but going into race number 2, of course, top 10 inverted grid, you started on pole, and in the early stages, we did see you gradually break away. Were you hoping that perhaps your rivals would fight a little bit more?
I expected Kim Andre to catch up. Yeah, I think it was faster than me. I saw the practice time and qual time, so it was just a matter of time before he caught up. Of course, when you're climbing through the reverse grid, there's always a chance of getting caught behind a slower car or getting involved in an incident. So I think I tried to take a bit care to the silver driver. I saw Pimley and another silver drivers having a fight. So I'm trying to make the overtakes clean and quickly as possible.
Oh, fair play. We'll try and keep it as clean as you could. And then you were able to clear the silvers, but then we started to see the pesky slowdowns arise that you're talking about earlier. And they did cost you at first. Was a real chance of coming back at Kim Andre Bjørklund, and then subsequently to your teammate as well. But I mean, we could see that you were desperate not to serve them or try to serve them as quickly as you could, but they just slow you down, don't they?
It's a massive slowdown. Basically, I don't think you get rid of it before you're going on to the back straight. You kind of need to get it served before the back straight, because if you have it on the back straight, you start lifting, you lose a lot of time going down the straight. So Kim Andre, I think I went off the racing line and just let him by. For Oscar as well, he's on voice. I told him he got to slow down and just told him to pass on the left when we got just before the corner going onto the back straight. So, yeah.
Oh, indeed. Well, you're able to coordinate it with your teammate, but still, in the end, you're able to shadow Oscar all the way to the finish. And what we did see in the end was a third place, enough for you to become our gold champion. I mean, at what point, is it when you've come into the commentary booth, you know, or once you were able to get out the car, did Oscar tell you you'd done it?
Like, I didn't check, because I just heard Oscar said don't wreck, so I assumed it was correct. But I saw the congratulations from Discord, so that it's a confirmation that it was correct.
Oh, fair play. Well, yeah, you definitely are a provisional champion. That's no doubt about it. And when you look back over the season, are there moments or just one moment which is perhaps your highlight of the season?
Ooh, yeah, highlight of the season. Maybe Hockenheim and Daytona was good. I enjoyed that one, or these two. Had good pace. Daytona is, if you can keep it clean, and I really enjoy the draft train and the strategy of Daytona in these cars. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, fair play. Oh, well, some absolute highlights, like you say there, and Hockenheim ring last time out, absolutely manic for all the right reasons. But in terms of what's next then, I mean, we are planning to do a season 2. We're going to talk more about that on the broadcast later on today. Can we expect you back in a few weeks' time to defend your Gold Championship crown?
We'll see. We'll have to discuss a bit with the team if they have other leagues going up or coming up. I have to discuss a bit with Oscar, see what he wants to do. He said he was eager to get revenge, so I don't know what that means. So.
Oh, fair play. I love it. It sounds as though it's going to be the rematch between the two of you in Season 2, potentially. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But just before I do let you go, Matt, I do have to ask, is there anyone that you'd like to give a mention or a shout-out to on the broadcast?
Thanks, Paul, for a great broadcast. Thank you to the organizers putting the league together and picking the Porsche Cup for the first season. Thanks to Oscar, who's been my teammate through the whole championship, and the rest of the team, always helping and assisting with coaches with tips and tricks.
Well, Matt, we've got to say thank you to you for being an absolute star throughout the season and also for joining me for an interview. You are our provisional gold champion for Season 1 of the Race by Wire Porsche Cup. Well done to you once again. I'll leave you to it. Enjoy it, celebrate, savour the moment, have a lovely evening, and we'll see you again in the near future.
Thank you, Paul. Have a great weekend too.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from a very happy Matt Strand. I suspect the emotions are bubbling up a little bit right now for the ice cold racing by Max Sim Racing driver. What a conclusion. As he mentioned there, the fact that he had a personal item that come up literally last minute that he had to attend to and was able to only get 40 minutes of practice in, a lot less practice than he perhaps would like, but in the end he was able to keep it together. And as his teammate had said to him in the build-up today, he hadn't worked out the maths, he didn't know what he needed to do to win, but Oscar had said to him, don't put it in the wall and you're going to be fine. And that's exactly what he did today, albeit he enjoyed some absolutely incredible battling and was talking about then apologising for the fact a bit of a dive on Richard Simnor down into the hairpin here in the first race. But to be fair, I think all is fair between the two of them, and well, both drivers giving it their all. He couldn't quite bring home the podium in race number 1 in the gold class, and I do apologise to Richard for saying that Matt had taken that podium. But as he went into the feature race, of course, knew there all he needed to do at that point was make sure he didn't make any mistakes, of which he was mostly faultless until the slowdown penalty started to creep him midway through, and in the end lost the lead to Kim Andre Bjørklund, then lost second place to his teammate Oscar Berntsson, but in the third place was all he needed, and he made sure to keep it clean all the way to the end, and he is your deserved gold champion for Season 1. And well, if Oscar Berntsson's already talking about wanting a revenge for Season 2, I get the feeling we're going to be seeing the Ice Cold Racing team back already. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to move on to our next interview. You can probably guess who we're going to be interviewing next. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure now to come to our second interview of the evening. It is none other than Oscar Berntsson, our provisional Gold Championship runner-up. Oscar, you gave it everything this season. I mean, on paper, you are the driver, I do believe, with the most gold wins. We know you missed a round that you didn't plan to miss, but even then, you kept the championship wide open to the very end. You are a second-place finisher in the championship. Not quite able to dethrone Matt, but what an effort from yourself. Surely you've got to be happy.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the season overall. It's a bit tough, of course, to be P2, just a few points away from P1, and knowing that the reason was I am P2 right now is because I was tired of a day at school and I fell asleep. It's quite painful to think like that, but overall I'm pretty happy with the season. I've had good pace on all the rounds. I've won every race won. So I think that shows that I've got the speed. I've got the most feature race wins, and yeah, it's a shame, but I'm happy overall with the season.
Oh, indeed. And I can hear it in the voice. It's bittersweet, I think, in the fact that whilst you've had such a strong season, obviously a circumstance in the end preventing you from being able to take the crown. But, to be fair, let's talk about some positives here. Adelaide, a street circuit which is absolutely uncompromising. I mean, we've seen it in qualifying this season. When you've been on it, you have been absolutely unstoppable in qualifying. And here today, another pole lap by almost 2 tenths. I mean, how would you do it at such a tricky circuit? I think most drivers are scared of hitting the walls. With you, meanwhile, I think the walls are scared of you getting close to them.
It's I drove the track, I think Monday first time, and I just fell in love with it. I don't know what it is with it. It's the same with Long Beach. The feeling of going over the curbs and bouncing when you're just a few centimeters from the walls it's just so cool, and you will hit the walls during the race, and the wheel alignment will get damaged, and I think it's just so much fun to drive the cars when they're damaged. It feels just so raw, and especially on this track with the history, it's just a different feeling when driving on this track. So when you really love the track, you drive a lot on it. So I've been doing a few hours of practice. I usually do maybe 1 hour. So yeah, it's been. I really like the track.
Oh, well, to be fair, it shows in the laps you're bringing. Of course, taking pole and qualifying in the sprint, we did see Matt Sproul get the lead off of you in turn 1, although you did try to hold him on the inside there. At what point did you suddenly think, you know what, I should back out because otherwise we'll never survive in turn 1, and you kind of need to.
Yeah, I know that I have everything to lose at that point. I calculated before that it was mathematically impossible to me to reach Mats in the championship due to the lack of drivers. So it was just to try and stay alive. It's a silver driver, so for the championship, it doesn't really matter if he's ahead of me or behind me. It's just the feeling that's better when he's behind you, you know. But yeah, it was. I saw him sending it, and I was like, yeah, he's gonna break, no problem. And then it was like, no, he ain't. So then it was just full on the brake pedal, hope I didn't get hit from behind, and try and pass him on another place during the race, which I managed to.
Oh, indeed. And then you were able to find your way through and you brought home the win in the sprint race, even if you did have a little bit of pressure towards the very end from Kim. He wasn't quite close enough to threaten you as much as he has in previous races. So, race number 2, obviously now you'd start from 10th place. And the opening stage of the race, I mean, it was just battles everywhere. You're trying to tuck your nose in at places where perhaps you shouldn't put your nose, but in the end, you found some spots.
Yeah. At the start, I I hit the wall pretty bad in the, what is it, like turn 5 or something.
Yes.
I hit the wall pretty bad, and I was so close to just braking and clicking on the tow button, because that hit was so bad that, like, oh yeah, this car is toasted. But I drove a corner and felt like this car is like almost drivable, so I kept it going, trying to get the place that I could, and yeah, it was good fun. It was I really love the track, like I said, and especially with a damaged car, it just feels so raw. Even though it's not fast, it's just so fun to drive. Um, but yeah, I did take some risky overtakes, like you said, but I mean, no one died, so I hope I didn't do anything wrong.
To be fair, I mean, you took the risks, but you were rewarded for it. And I don't think you did anything wrong. I think most don't think you did anything wrong. And we got to see some great battling. In the end, however, as you were trying to close down Kim Andre Bjørklund, it looked as though, with the damage you picked up early on, plus a bit of tyre wear as well, mistakes started to appear, those pesky slowdowns started to arrive, and you couldn't quite chase down the win.
Yeah, those tires for me died like just a few laps after just a few laps. I tested in the first race to get a feeling of the tires, but and it felt like super good. I was like, oh yeah, this is like such a track where there's such low grip, where the tires don't really wear. So then I was just full push in race 2, and that with some alignment issues, the tires died pretty fast. So every time I went through turn 1, I was opposite. No, not really opposite lock, but I was turning the wrong direction. I was sliding through the whole chicane, so the tires were pretty dead. I was trying to catch Kim, but he didn't make any mistakes. So it was just, what was it, 6 seconds when I started? It's just, it's not gonna work without any mistakes. So yeah, I think I managed the race pretty good overall.
Oh, 100% with a damaged car like that, bringing home second place in the end. And I mean, the result that took, which would mean you would provisionally take the run-up spot based on result count back, both of you on 302 points. I mean, let's not underestimate what you've been able to achieve. A huge end to the season then, of course, not the crown, but I remember in a couple of interviews about 4 weeks ago, you said to me, so long as one of us wins the championship, and if we can make it 1-2, we'll be happy. You've done that. Surely then, it's got to be a good end to the season.
Yeah, it's lovely. I mean, Mats is such a nice person. He's sometimes he's feeling like a bit of a dad to me when we're racing. He's in the chat and just calming me down when I'm over pushing the tires and stuff like that. So he fully deserves it. I know he doesn't feel like it, but I think he does. The consistency and yeah, it's I'm I'm happy for him and I'm happy for the team, and I want to in this series is just lovely, and I'm sure it's the team championship as well. So it couldn't really have gone much better for the team. It's I'm very happy with that.
Oh, fantastic. Now, I do have to ask, of course, Mats was saying, as we talked about the future, he said that you'd mentioned to him about getting revenge. Does that mean we can expect you on the grid for season 2?
I mean, of course you want to get the revenge, but I mean, no offense to everyone racing here. It's been so much fun to racing in this league, but I am kind of feeling like I want a bit of a higher level on the drivers to some point. But at the same time, it's about having fun, and I've been having really fun, and it's not because I've been winning. It's because the racing have been good. I mean, the people have been having battles with have been nice and clean, and yeah, it's just been so much fun. And I am thinking about it, but I've not decided yet.
Oh, that's absolutely fair. And to be fair to you, I think many can understand where you're coming from, which is you love the grid, you love the competition, but you want even more competition on the grid. Well, I'm sure our organisers right now will be listening to that and thinking, right, let's see if we can bring even more big names to challenge Oscar Berntsson and the company. We'll see if we can do that. But just as I do get ready to let you go, Oscar, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to?
Yeah, to you, Paul, to the league organizers, to the people in the league, to everyone who made this league what it is, and it's just amazing. And yeah, everything. It's been a lot of fun this 3 months or whatever it is. It's I will look back on their league with a smile. So thank you.
Oh, brilliant. And well, we have to say thank you to you for not just being a superstar out on circuit, but regularly joining me in the interview room and giving your thoughts. And well, it's been a pleasure, Oscar, to speak to you this evening. Congratulations on the final pole position of the season, plus the win in the sprint and second place in the feature, and most importantly, runner-up in the Gold Championship. A brilliant effort. Savour it, enjoy the moment, and have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you very much.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from our championship runner-up in the gold class, Oscar Berntsson, and definitely today a bittersweet moment. Understandably, one side of him happy for what the team have been able to achieve and happy that Mats has taken the crown. But the other part of it, of course, the natural selfish part of the racing driver. Indeed, all racing drivers are animals. If they weren't, they wouldn't be as quick as they are on the road, whether virtual or reality. And what we could hear there was Oscar Berntsson talking about the fact that if he hadn't have missed that extra round due to what was oversleeping, well, he would be potentially your champion here today. But still, you have to roll with the dice you've been handed. And in the end, with Oscar Berntsson, so the fact he finished in second and was able to stay in the championship all the way to the end, that is testament to what he's brought to the table. And as he mentioned there, he'll be looking back fondly on the racing this season. If we do see him for season 2, I think it'll be full on attack and retribution for season 1, and well, you can count on that one. But we've got one more interview to come this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We've kept the gentlemen waiting, and well, give us about 10 seconds. We're coming to our final interview of the season. And so, for our final interview of the season, joining me now in the interview room is the man who pushed everybody the distance today. It is none other than Kim Andre Bjørklund. Good evening to you, Kim, and well, what a challenging day it's been for yourself today. A win in the feature, run up in the sprint, and in the end, joint on points in second place in the Gold Championship. Third, technically based on result countback, but what a close season it's been for you.
Yeah, it's been really interesting and a lot of hard and close fighting, and yeah, it has been fun.
Oh, without a doubt. Plenty of fun had out there, and we saw plenty of fun from yourself today. Going straight into it, Adelaide qualifying third place, second in class. I mean, you were looking quick out there, but something tells me that you wanted to guarantee that you started towards the front of the grid rather than push too hard in qualifying.
Yeah, I had pace for more, but I kept overshooting the last corner in qualifying, so I could have gotten second overall, but I had no match to Oscar today.
All fair play. Well, you might not have been a match for him in qualifying. However, when we did go racing, what we did get to see is after the initial fighting had calmed down, you weren't too far off his pace in race trim. Were you feeling a bit more confident as the sprint race went on? Because we saw the gap between the two of you coming down. It's almost as if you were better the longer you went in the race.
Yeah, I tend to take care of my tires pretty well, so the longer the race goes on, my pace, I don't drop off the pace as much. Last 2 laps, when after Oscar got his last slowdown, I just took it easy and made sure I didn't put it in the wall. But I was lapping steadily 18.1, 18.0, I think. So was really okay.
Almost definitely. And I mean, it does seem as though when it comes to street circuits or narrow circuits, you seem very comfortable around here. Do you enjoy street circuits by default, or is Adelaide special?
I actually have a lot of fun on street races. One of my favorite tracks are actually Long Beach, so this isn't very far off.
Well, indeed, I think many agree with you there. I mean, we all love Long Beach, and Adelaide's definitely proven to be entertaining, and you've shown how much you enjoy it out there. Of course, the sprint race runner-up in the end, going into the feature, starting in 9th, we saw you make some very quick moves early on. In fact, you might have been the driver who was able to sneak his way through the best in amongst all the silvers. I mean, just take us through what it's like trying to battle your way past them, because, of course, they're not in the same championship as you, but they're trying to fend off each other whilst you're picking your way past.
Yeah, today wasn't really bad. The silver drivers, when I was on good attack move, they just more or less let me pass. It has been worse earlier this season, so not bad today. I had to do some sense, but nothing that could go really bad, so it was okay actually.
Oh, indeed. It was good racing. And then when you did clear them and you were able to take the lead of the race off of Matt Strand, we saw you gradually pull out a gap. I mean, it looked as though you were in your element, just taking a tenth or two each lap. And even when Oscar started to catch you, he picked up slowdowns. You didn't make any mistakes.
No, I think I have found an okay line through the first chicane that almost never gives me a slowdown penalty, so I think I had one in the sprint. And that's it today. Yeah, I didn't push as hard when I got Mats outside of 1 second. I tried to just let the car do the work and not lean on the tires too much. If Oscar would catch me at the end, I tried to have as much pace in the tires as possible at the end.
I see, that makes sense, saving it all up in case you were under pressure, but in the end he wasn't able to get close enough to you, and instead it was a win coming your way. Of course, it did mean 302 points for yourself at the end of the season alongside Oscar having 302, and then it coming down to wins, but given the fact you were joint second, only behind a result count back, when you look back upon your season, do you feel as though it's the result you expected, or were there moments where perhaps the win slipped away?
I think the win slipped away after Sebring, when I spun in the sprint race there and couldn't get up to P10 in the sprint and had to battle silver drivers all through the feature race at Sebring. I lost too much to Mats and Oscar that week, so from there it has been hard because only 4 or 5 drivers the last 2 races in class, so you can't really make up some points on the other drivers.
I see, and well, understandably, like you say, when there's not as many drivers anymore, points become more precious and not able to make up the ground. Of course, it was unfortunate what happened at Sebring, but spinning it the other way, are there any months of the season you'll look back on fondly and think, yes, that was my highlight of the season?
I would say last lap Le Mans with Richard Simnor.
Oh, indeed. That was a memorable moment between the two of you, no doubt about it. And I then naturally have to ask, what's next for yourself? What have you got planned league-wise? Are you thinking of coming back for Season 2?
I'm not sure. It has to be more drivers that actually finished the season. It got kind of boring at the end there. I'm going to race I have one race left at Apex tomorrow, and I think I'm going to do next season there too. And just see what happens after that.
Well, that's absolutely fair. I think a sensible call on your plans. We wish you the best luck in the season finale in the Apex Racing Series as well. But Kim, just so I get ready to let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to on the broadcast?
Yeah, you and the organizers of the league, and of course my teammates. I don't have the pace I have now without them.
Well, Kim, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me for an interview to wrap up the season. Brilliant work from yourself today to take a double podium, including the win in the feature, and in the end, finishing inside our top 3 in the Gold Championship. You kept it close all the way through, and well, with that, well done once again. Savour it, enjoy it, and we look forward to seeing you on the grid at some point in the future. But until then, my friend, have a lovely rest of your evening. So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Kim Andre Bjørklund, our final interview for the season in the gold class, and talking there about the fact that he really felt as though the championship went away from him at Sebring with that spin, and then having to try and carve his way through the silvers and into the golds, and with the depleted field at that point, knowing that points were going to be even more problematic, but still he gave it his all, and in the end, third would be what he'd be able to achieve. Second, technically, but then result countback says it is third based on the provisional results, but indeed, either way, enjoying the fact that he did have some memorable moments, and of course that battle at Le Mans between himself and Richard Simnor up there with some of the very best of the season, no doubt about it. The sim racing Norway drive very comfortable at the street circuits, loves Long Beach, and well, Adelaide not too dissimilar, and we've seen that today, particularly in what was the feature race, where in the end he was absolutely as smooth as butter and was able to get the job done for that win. But it wasn't enough in the end. But should he be back for a season 2, I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, I suspect he's going to be even more brazenly and blazing quick, and we look forward to see that happen at some point in the future, because, well, Kim Andre Bjørklund, definitely some would say, could have been gold champion this season. It didn't come his way, but I suspect in a future season it may just well do. But with that, that concludes all of our interviews for this evening, and indeed for this season. And well, we will very shortly be bringing you the updated provisional final standings. But before we do that, let's give you a recap of who we've interviewed tonight. And here we go. Because as we can see, we've spoken to 3 drivers in the gold class to wrap up our interviews for the season. We started off with none other than Matt Strand for the Ice Cold Racing by Max Sim Racing team, your provisional gold class champion. We then came to your runner-up in the gold class, his teammate of Oscar Berntsson, a 1-2 for them, as we understand it. And then we made our way to Kim Andre Bjørklund, the third place finisher, equal runner-up on points with Oscar Berntsson, but behind based on result countback. A huge congratulations to all 3 of our drivers for their results today and over the season, and a big thank you to them for joining me in the interview room. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, let's bring you the provisional final standings just before we wrap up, and here they are, starting with the Gold Drivers' Championship. And as we can see, after 10 rounds of intense racing action, there is the proof. Matt Strand, your winner by 5 points for Ice Cold Racing by Max Sim Racing, and Sim Racing Norway's Kim Andre Bjørklund there, listed on 302 points ahead of Oscar Berntsson. But we do believe the result countback actually puts them the other way, given the fact Oscar Berntsson with 12 wins to Kim Andre Bjørklund's 5, and that's where the delta is between them. But the fact they're tied right at the end of the season, which shows how close they were. Richard Simnor, in the end, taking 4th place, comfortably ahead of Josh Boot, and then it was Andy Jones in 6th, ahead of Simon Bamber, with Ryan Davies, Jack Atkinson and Paddy Falconer completing the top 10. Mikey Pollard 11th there, ahead of Nick Cliwins, with Joe Newman, Daniel Shilcock and Gavin Petty completing the top 15. And then rounding off on 31 points, Casper Tunstead, and to 0 points, Andy Archer and Helder Gonzalez. But in the Silver Championship, as we say, a huge congratulations to Matt Strand, and also to our podium finishers there, Kim Andre Bjørklund and Oscar Berntsson. Well, let's come to the Silvers, and here we can see the confirmation that for Glenn Grondeliers, he didn't need to be on the grid today. Indeed, he was your champion up from round number 9 at the Hockenheim Ring. The Pegasus Sim Racing Dry in the end followed up 11 points behind by Ollie Pimley for Ghost Squadron Esports, and definitely will be asking himself the question, what if we've been able to pick up a few more points earlier on in the season, but still sealed the deal with second today, ahead of ERR by the organisation's Emma Ryu, and then Alan McCain 4th there in the end, just ahead of Adam Klanvik, with Aaron Herbert in 6th, ahead of Matt Sproul, only based on what was results, albeit, in fact, as we do look to the number of wins there, it does swap the other way. Matt Sproul will be your 6th place finisher because he's got one more win compared to Aaron Herbert. Then Chris Cole in 8th place at 170 points, ahead of both Krista Halsoy and Rob Van Hoot, and will in the end neither driver picking up a class win, and we do believe it'll be Hal Sawyer based on result countback, given the number of 2nd place finishes. And then Rob Van Hoop behind him in 10th, ahead of Ben Sieber by 10 points, taking his only podium of the season in the final race of the season. And then behind the DCW Racing Yellow drivers, 4 points to Mark Collicott, who enjoyed a very happy day today, and a first win as well this season in race number 1. And Fabrizio Penzo, David Bigadike, and Alexandra Longju completed the top 15. Niels Burton 12th, ahead of Matty Wild, followed by Nida Braun, Nicholas Gronstrom, Mirzam Yutsupov, Dave Van Dam, and Timo Gertner. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, a huge congratulations to our silver podium there, our champion firstly at Glen Gondoliers, and of course there to our runners-up of Ollie Pimley and Emma Ryu. And with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed the racing today and enjoyed the season of racing here in the Race by Wire Porsche Cup, and perhaps you're sat there thinking to yourself right now, why wasn't I on the grid for Season 1? Or perhaps you're hesitating, but you definitely want to get on the grid for Season 2, well, definitely head to our official Discord. Invite link available on screen, and well, you will be able to get on the grid and go racing with us. It's the beating heart of the community, and we'd be very happy to have you, whether you are a rookie all the way through to an esports professional. We'd also like to take a moment to say a huge thank you once again to our series sponsor, Energise Virtual Solutions, and do remember that Energise Virtual Solutions is a software consultancy whose aim is to meet the demands of bespoke product services and development. Whether it's a completely new project or consultancy assistance on existing projects, Energise Virtual Solutions will be working alongside you every step of the way. And if you do want to know more about what they can do for you, then do head to their website, energisevirtual.com today. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, as we bring the curtain down on our first season, well, next time we have Season 2, of course. We will be back, and we will be starting on Wednesday, the 25th of March, 2026. Indeed, only the grand total of 3 weeks away, and we're back to unveil a whole new season of racing, and we would walk you through the calendar at the moment, but we can't quite, it hasn't been quite finalised. We will be following the iRacing official Porsche Cup calendar once again, and that's why we're not going to show it, because it is currently up for discussion, but do keep in mind that's what we're going to be doing, and what you can keep an eye on those provisional calendars as we do make wait until week 13 of Season 1 in only a few days' time. But save the date. If you do want to be on the grid, make sure you get into the Race by Wire Discord and get yourself signed up as quickly as you possibly can. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that brings to a close Season 1 of the Race by Wire Porsche Cup. We've had some absolutely epic and entertaining battles. We've had some dramatic moments as well and everything in between. But all that leaves time for us to say thank you very much for tuning in to our inaugural season here of Race by Wire. We've got plenty more planned for 2026, and we hope to have you join us on that journey as time goes on. But until then, this has been the Race by Wire Porsche Cup Season 1, brought to you on our YouTube channel and sponsored by none other than Energise Virtual Solutions. And I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling. A huge congratulations to our champions in gold of Matt Strand and in silver at Glen Gondoliers. And remember, most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, as always, to stay on track. Good night.